people must have the best of all, not eating with the flies. No more getting the meager scraps while the pirates eat and laugh. Enough is enough, they need to know that we come first, not last. These pirates pray in church one day and the next day they pray on you. They think we don't know what's going on, but we are not so fooled. Life here has to be good for all, not just the richest man. So jump up now and together fight for our people and our land. Okay, man, people, it's time to have your say. No more being second class, let's make that clear today. Tell these pirates who are robbing us that we're sick and tired of them. So we're joining up to fight for our beloved Isles, Cayman. Some pirates been here for ages now, and some are the new recruits. They're getting worse and worse, my friend, with the pirate party group. But we the people will show them how this pirate thing will go. A miracle coming for all Caymanians all around the globe. Oh, Cayman people, it's time to blow your shell. Sitting quiet without a word has not worked out so well. So we must stand together now and demand what we deserve. Put all the pirates on their knees and remind them who they serve.
They want to rule in these verdant isles and our blue carrots.
Expand the port and create a cruise ship berthing facilities at Georgetown Harbor on Grand Cayman. I've already spoken out on this issue, and I'm surprised that even after the public has asked for a referendum on this project, the government is still resisting. The proposed expansion of Grand Cayman's cruise ship berthing infrastructure would destroy nearly all the coral reefs. I know from personal observation that development and dredging stirs up sediment. Sediment will spread from the site, cover reef.
Channel 33 or on Facebook Live. Thank you all for joining us. This should be a wonderful evening of information. My name is Shirley. I'm not a founding member of CPR, but I joined right after they formed, and I've been here ever since. And it's because I care for this place that we call home, and I care for my people. And over several decades, I've just seen everything slipping away from us, our people becoming hopeless, losing their national pride. We've got to get that back. We have got to get that back. And the only way we can do that is to start with ourselves and join hands with our sisters and brothers and stand together to say no more foolishness, and Caymanians have to come first in this country. Not cruise lines, not major developers and big money investors. Thank you. Caymanians have to come first in this country. Too many of our people are suffering here, and many have already left to try to find a better life somewhere else because they could not make it here. That is unacceptable. People, that is unacceptable. Caymanians should thrive in their own country, not just survive. They should be the ones that are thriving. You, me, her, every Caymanian, everybody that's living on this island, Cayman Brac, Little Cayman, we're all investors here, and we have to have a piece of the pie, not the scraps. So stand together, be brave. When it comes to referendum day, I'm going to tell you very proudly, I will be voting no, because scientists, economists, and my own common sense tells me that that plan is not good for us. If it's not good for every one of us, it is not good enough, okay? It is not good enough if all of us are not a part of that, the benefits of that port project. So be brave, go out and vote. If you're going to vote yes, be proud enough to go out and vote yes. If you're on the line, you're not sure if you want to vote no or if you want to vote yes, in that case, I recommend you vote no, because if you vote yes and this goes through and we find out later that it's a problem, you can't take that back. If we vote no and halt it, slow it down till we get it right, then we have something. So we're not anti-government, we're not anti-cruise, we are pro-Caymanian, pro-Cayman Islands, and pro-progress for all. Thank you. Exactly. Right now, it gives me great pleasure and honor to introduce a young lady. Jamie Ebanks is going to come up on the stage and sing our national song. Jamie is 15 years old. She's from Boddentown. She's been singing since she was 2 years old. And I think you're going to be very impressed with her rendition of the national song. Can you please stand? I told you you'd be blown away. My grandfather's sister, Leela Ross Shire, is the author of that song, and it always gives me goosebumps to hear it. Thank you for that beautiful version, Jamie. Another round of applause, please. Now I would like to welcome a very well-known person in your community. Ms. Laura Ebanks will be offering the prayer this evening. You want this one or this one? That might be easier since you're reading.
Good evening, everyone. I'm not sure how well known I am to all of you, but I shared today that I am quite well known with the young people of this district because I've been doing youth ministry for many, many years and been in and out of the schools, volunteering and everything. And I shared today that 2 young people came up to me this week and thanked me for doing the video that I did and said to me that they felt I was speaking on their behalf. And I'm going to say before I offer the prayer that I will be voting no for our children. Let us pray. Lord of all creation, of water, earth, and sky, we come to you tonight giving thanks for our country, and in particular, our beautiful district of West Bay. You have provided so many natural resources for us to enjoy, and you have given us dominion over them. Forgive us when we interpret dominion to mean power over and destruction of. Help us to realize that dominion really means that we are to responsibly care for all your creation everywhere. Lord, we ask that you provide our country's leaders with the wisdom to guide us in the right direction. Encourage them to choose wisely, and when they don't know what to do, help them to keep their eyes on you. We pray for all the people of this country. Grant us wisdom and discernment as we make decisions regarding issues such as the one we are here to discuss tonight. Help us, along with our leaders, to make wise decisions that will move our country in the right direction and make life better for us all. And now, O Lord, we pray a blessing on each person who will speak from this platform tonight. We thank you for their willingness to share their expertise and their convictions on this matter, and we pray that all that is said and done may be in keeping with your will and your way, and may we always give you the honor and glory you deserve. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Before we start with our guest speakers, I would just like to let everyone know that we have some light refreshments in the back. Please free to help yourselves. The tuna sandwiches are all made with West Bay bread from Caribbean Bakery. I'm all about local. And did anybody see that beautiful West Bay sunset this evening? Yeah, that was pretty spectacular. So yeah, there's refreshments in the back. We also have a table with some Rascal paraphernalia. Everybody needs to join the Rascal movement. And you also need to call in the radio stations and tell them you want to hear the song Piracy by Ali and the Grassroots Rascals. Now it gives me distinct pleasure and honor, I've never done this in my whole life, to welcome the MLA for West Bay North and Deputy Speaker of the House, MLA Mr. Bernie Bush. He's a sports coach, he's a community leader, he has done our country proud in so many ways. We're especially proud for him taking a stand on the issue of the cruise port referendum and crossing the floor to represent the wishes of his people. That, my friends, is a leader. That is one of the truest demonstrations of statesmanship that I have witnessed in this land in a long time. Please give him a big, warm welcome, Mr. MLA Bernie Bush.
Testing one. It gives me great pleasure, and I'm very honored to be able to work with CPR Group. Up until the night that I walked over, I hadn't had any meeting with CPR, but there was a lot of respect that I had for what these mostly young people were doing. And when I realized, or when I knew that I did the right thing, there wasn't really any doubt, but just like what Laura just said, that the amount of young people that have come up to me and said, just touch my arm and say, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And I know I've done the right thing. And when I look at some of the people who have been articulating themselves, I saw a video early on with Levon Borden. I see Siobhan. I see a lot of intelligent, young, bright people that are speaking out. And I'm hoping to God that more Caymanians will realize that this is a stand we have to take, and we have to take it together. It can't be done in a little group or whatever. We all have to stick together, and we all have to convince our family and our friends to come out and vote. And what's really happening is that they're trying to plant seeds of doubt. And tonight, Mr. Ezra Miller and Mr. Chris Saunders, they're supposed to come and speak, but they're still in Parliament right now. They're going over the police budget and the border control budget. And they're saying that if they don't make it down, they'll definitely be back here on December the 3rd. And I would say to you all, please come on December the 3rd as well, because there are going to be new things exposed that will make you know even more. So you have to vote no. So at this time, I'm just going to give the floor to the speakers, and I'm going to say to you all, thank you all for caring. Thank you all for coming out, and let us continue this fight together. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. So just again, I'm just going to say we have some refreshments in the back. We have the T-shirts, and also engage with everyone that's in the back. They also have some of the Form B and Form C forms, because now that we've gotten to the point where it's at a referendum, if you're not going to be here for whatever reason, if you know somebody that might not be physically able to come out, they are able to apply for Form C, which is mobile voting. If you're physically not going to be on the island, as in you're leaving for vacation, you need to apply for a Form B. The deadline for that is the 7th of December, so it's not that far away, and we need to make sure that we're on top of it. Now, again, I don't really think that this next speaker needs a lot of introduction. She floored me at our launch on Wednesday the 20th, but just as the introduction that I have in front of me, she's a radio personality, real estate agent, mother, and daughter of the soil. She is 34-year-old Ruthanna Young, best known as the host of the radio show Straight Talk on Star 92.7. Ruthanna is a University of Miami alumni and a former hedge fund accountant and administrator. It pleases me greatly to welcome Miss Ruthanna Young.
Can you hear me? We're good. Good night, West Bay. How are you? Yes. It always feels good to come home. Yes, and now I will not deliver the same speech that I delivered on Wednesday, but all I can say to people, to everyone who's come to me after that date, is I can only imagine that that's what happens when you speak your truth. I am firmly passionate about us getting out to get registered to vote, and I am firmly passionate about being Caymanian, right? And so let's get some housekeeping out of the way, because as I was saying to somebody over there, you know, we West Bay is kind of funny. So for those who may not know me very well, or may not recognize me by my last name, because of course Young was gifted to me by my dad, I am an Anglin Ebanks from Crab Hole Road in West Bay, right? I am the proudest granddaughter of the late, the great Captain Marvin Ebanks. And so I am definitely a West Bayer from the heart of West Bay talking to you tonight. And so I went to the launch and they asked me if I could speak at other meetings. I said, I come into West Bay. So I am here. And of course, they invite me to these events to talk about the importance of voting. But I think it's incredibly necessary to discuss a few things before we go any further. So since last Wednesday's meeting, the launch event for CPR Cayman, where I thought I was giving a speech about the importance of participation and the importance of voting, which I spoke about that. But apparently I was, based on some of the feedback, I must have been given a war cry, all right? Apparently in our society, it seems that some of our leadership deem that anytime we speak out and say something different then is their personal opinion. And God forbid we vote for them and have a different thought than they would want us to have. We are deemed rascals and miscreants and rebels, right? But like I said, it seems like I sounded a war cry, but one thing I've decided, one thing I've been told is that God always sends the fittest soldiers to the biggest battles, right? And I've watched CPR Cayman come together, and I said this and I continue to say it over and over and over again. I've watched this movement, this grassroots movement come together and unite people from all across this island. And at this stage, all across the world. The world is watching Cayman. And I will acknowledge all of you, CPR Cayman, everyone who put your signatures to paper, all of you who are here tonight, all of you who are spreading the word. That includes the civil servants that come and say, I know I can't say it in public, but me and my family going down to vote no, right? I acknowledge them because they are, some of them are afraid, but I encourage them to be fearless. I encourage all of us over the next few weeks to be fearless, whatever your opinion may be, whether you're yes, whether you're no. As Shirley mentioned, be proud in whatever your decision is, right? And I know that many people have come to me and say, I know you say whether you vote yes or you vote no. They say, I vote no. And that's fine, right? But be fearless in those decisions. And I want us to look at this argument from two different angles and two things we have to examine this conversation around. And is it fair and is it favorable? And I think that is the basis on which we should be making any vote, right? And is it fair? Is it a fair deal for Cayman and Caymanians? Are we gaining more than we are losing? And based on your answer to that, you decide how you vote. Is it favorable for us? And I think Michelle may have said it, or Shirley, but is it favorable for us? Does it put Caymanians and Cayman first? And if it does not put Cayman and Caymanians first, you vote no. And like I said, since Wednesday in particular, I've been called the likes of Rude Ann and a rascal by some of our leadership. And that's okay, as my sister says, until you've been called driftwood, you're not in the big league. So I still got some work to do, right? And my back is broad, so it's fine. I was raised, and I see the mom of the rascal in the back. She has raised me to be fearless in the things that I speak out about, and I appreciate that. For decades now, this same misogynistic behavior, this general prejudicial behavior to any of us who dare to speak out, who dare to step up, are deemed troublemakers and the like. Be fearless, Cayman. Be fearless because, as Ms. Laura said, this is for our children, this is for our grandchildren. And yesterday I was so blessed to visit with a few of our seamen, and one of them said one of the reasons that they are getting so informed and that they're going to show up to vote is because they don't want their grandchildren to look up and say, this is what you left me? Right? This is what you left me. And so that is what I think about. I have my 10-month-old daughter, and it is for her that I am participating. It is for her that I am lending my voice. It is for her that I am trying to do my very best to ensure that we, the Cayman Islands, do not have our country taken from under our feet for lack of participation. And I said it on Wednesday, I will say it again. When you ask me why vote, and I won't give you all the poem tonight, but why vote? Because you are Caymanian and this is your home. And I equally want to thank those of you, because I've had people who sent me messages and says, I'm a non-Caymanian, right? To tell me, to tell me how the words made them feel, or a soon-to-be Caymanian. For those of you who have united with just as people who love this country, I appreciate you. I applaud you for standing alongside everybody. Everybody. Your voices, your efforts are appreciated. And for those of you who cannot vote yet, please be sure you are what I call influencers. Please be sure that you get up and you say, for the person next to you who can vote, for the person in the office across from you who can vote, you make sure that you do your part to influence, to speak, to give them a ride down if they need to, right? Make sure you get everybody out to vote. And I want to remind everybody, because in some conversations I had yesterday, I realized that some people aren't aware. If you know people in your community who may not be able to make it out on election day and need mobile ballots, make sure that if you have to lend a hand or you call, I'm sure me along with any other member of CPR are there. We have until I think December 7th. Make sure we get the mobile votes, to the ballots out, the request for that they can do that. Those who need to go in and do early voting, those who need postal ballots that are going to be away on that night. Everyone can do their part in ensuring that everyone turns out to vote. It is absolutely necessary. It is critical. This is Cayman and this is our home, and we only get one chance at something so big. And as Shirley mentioned earlier, maybe we need to go back to the drawing board. Maybe we need to ask some other questions, but we only get one chance at this opportunity. And so for those of you who are thinking about, oh, my vote don't matter, trust me. And you ask anybody, I'm sure, that's sitting in this room, every vote counts. Every vote counts. And I won't stay much longer, but I also want to make sure that I acknowledge the likes of Mr. Kem Jackson, because I had the privilege of speaking to this gentleman yesterday. And while my grandfather is no longer with us, and this wasn't something I said to him, but it feels good to sit at the feet of our heroes. It feels good to sit at the feet of our champions. It feels good to sit at the feet of and I said it on Wednesday, I think it was, the people whose backs this country was built on. And so I encourage you, Cayman, I can't implore on you enough. Please, December 19th, we must go out and vote. And I got whole West Bay accountable. Right? I got whole West Bay accountable. We've led in many areas. We've been the leaders, and I apologize for anybody who's not from West Bay, but I am home, okay? So I am going to exhibit a little bit of bias out here tonight. We have led the pack on many occasions. Let us lead the pack on December 19th. Let us show up in droves and be an example. The days of generational voting must be over. Get informed and make a decision for yourself. Make a decision for your children. Make a decision for the future of this country. So I need West Bay to promise me tonight as I stand here before you, and when I tell you all day, I was like in the shower bathing to come here, and I was so excited. I can't even tell you. Let us lead the pack on December 19th and fill the polls, fill the booths, make sure that our ballot boxes are stuffed full, because we all turned out to vote. On December 19th, the world is watching us. They are watching us, Cayman, because our shores, although it is for us, it affects many. It affects many, many people, and please, I look forward to seeing you out on December 19th. Get out and vote. Thank you.
Let's have another round of applause for Ruth Anna. I say Ruth Anna for premiere in 2021. Our next guest is also very well known in this community, and not just in this community, throughout the islands, throughout the world. Mr. Kem's tried and tested experience of Cayman's waters has been called upon multiple times by colleges, universities, and scientists from around the world over the past 50 plus years. that wanted and still want to study our wonderful God-given underwater heritage, pristine corals, golden sands, and crystal clear waters. These natural heritage assets have made us the crown jewel of the Caribbean. We need to own that. We're a scuba and snorkeling mecca of the world, and people come from all over because there's not very many places that they can have the experience that they have here. Much, if not all, of the many reports conducted on our islands in the marine environment, one can read the credits from this gentleman's contributions to them. I'd also like to say that probably many of you don't even know, I didn't know till recently, but our Balboa shipwreck in the port is in and of itself a historic monument that should be preserved. But it is also the site of the first ever filmed night dive. We need to own that and be proud that our Balboa is where the first night dive in the world was ever filmed. Mr. Kem was a part of that amazing and awesome expedition, and hopefully he will tell you a little bit more about that. Welcome to the stage, please, Mr. Kem Jackson.
Good afternoon, everybody. I guess most of you know me. If you don't know me, I'm the catboat man too. So I know you know that. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to tell you tonight why vote no to this thing. And I'm going to explain it from my experience with the university. Many, many years. Now, it wasn't 12 months a year. You know, we used to do it like 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 4 weeks. But what we were doing, or what Dr. Robert was doing, was having refresher courses with the university. You know, this year he'll bring down a bunch of people, and the next year he'll bring down another group, and all kind of smart scientist people. And I learned where the water goes. I learned how deep Booby Key is. I learned. Well, I could stay all night, but what it is, the sun from, excuse me, the sun from 7 Mile Beach. I hear these people talking about, oh, it does this and it does that. But then people you see come down here with necktie and coats, they don't know nothing, you know. They probably can't even swim. But I spent half of my life underwater. In fact, it was so bad that the Skin Diver magazine put that I made 1 million dives, and I had to go call him and tell him. I said, well, you know how old I would be if I made 1 million dives? He said, oh, I didn't recognize. I forgot that, you know. I would only be about 600 years old, I guess. But anyway, I'm not that old yet. With the sun from 7 Mile Beach, why it's so white and pretty, it goes to Pull Me Down Point in South Sound. And what I was showed, by it going, it was turning over, you know? And that's why it's so white. Now it comes back a certain time. I'm sure there's some people here that remember up at South Sound when the beach is low, when the sun is gone, you can almost walk out to the quay. I'm sure, well, I don't know in South Sound is there, but. And it goes there and it stays for quite a while, and it comes back. And when that comes back, then the beach is beautiful. But what's happening now? I done all the underwater work in the dock in Georgetown, the dock you see there. But we was very careful. I don't know who done the plans, but the dock was built a little ways out from the shore. And, you know, it was real shallow. And then what we done, we put two big dolphins. In fact, it took 65,000 bags of cement. And we made two big, they call it dolphins, or you can call it pilings, or whatever you want to call it. And it was long ways out. And we got pre-stressed concrete from the States. And we put on top. In other words, it was a bridge, like a bridge. And the trucks and cranes and stuff was going out there. And the reason for that, when the sun was coming down, it would go on the edge of the shore and under that and go. Now, somebody got the idea that that wasn't a good idea. We're going to fill it up. And somebody called me now and says, you want to see white sand? You go there. Well, you know what happened now? This is the edge of the beach, and you got this thing here. So this is a pocket, and everything goes in there. And that is why the beach is going down now. And I don't know what they're going to do, because we're losing the beach. And West Bay, the beach is gone. No mistake about that. And that's another thing that I learned from the university. If you want to see what happens, you go home and you get a little bit of sand and put in a quart bottle, a little bit, and put a stopper in it, and you put water, and you just do like this, and you'll see the sand go and the sand come, the sand go and the sand come. But if you do like this and it hit the end, all the sand goes through the stopper. That's a wall. I learned that was one of the things that we talked about all the time. Now, we went in the North Sound. We done research all over this island, you know. Different places all over, bad weather, good weather. And everybody learned something new every day, including me. If I was to keep on, you'd have to stay all night, I guess. But Booby Key has got mud there. It's exactly 20 feet deep. I'll tell you how smart these people was. He came to my house, and he said, how much feet it is in Booby Key? I said, I have no idea. Mind you know, he didn't know, you know. I mean, he never tried anything. He said, well, I studied this, and it's 20 feet. Let's go. Me and him went. And he had two 10-foot pieces of pipe. But me and him were real good friends, you know. I say, oh, he made a mistake this time. No, put another 10. Hit it. I was pounding down with a hammer, and it was that much more to go. And I say, you made a mistake. I say, hit it again. Bang. Bedrock. So these people now, at least him, he is a very, very smart man. And they have nothing to, nobody listens to me, you know. They think I don't know what they think about me. But I don't go with a necktie and coat. But if these people keep on, and the dock, you imagine a ship here, 10 stories high, and a couple of 1,000 feet long. That captain not coming in and go down here, through here, with a rock on that side and a rock on that side, you know. He got to have at least lot of turning space, thousands of feet. So I hear these things they're talking about, oh, not be much dredging. That is foolishness. And another one about the coral. Listen to me. If the coral was to grow even half of what he said, it wouldn't be no water in the North Sound, you know. No. It would be dry land. So, them kind of people, I'll tell you another thing. I had this man come down here. I'm not going to tell you where he worked or what he was doing. He's another one with a dressed up with a coat. And he came to my house. He said, I want to talk to you. I said, okay. And he talked, and he said, I want you to get a Cayman license. And I said, well, okay. So he came and he started talking to me, and he said, I think what you should do is go to Fort Lauderdale, to the school in Fort Lauderdale. I said, well, you got a minute? Yeah, I said, let me call him. So it was the Coast Guard. And I called him, and he said, give the phone to him. He said, you listen to me now. Ken Jackson, he said, I can't make him come to my school because he said if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. So, and I promised this man, I really did do this. I promised I would never say anything about him, but he didn't go on. So, he's gone. And these is the kind of people that we getting coming, you know? They know everything and they don't know one bloody thing. Now, I'm not saying some of them are not smart but when it comes to diving and coral and stuff like that, and I never, these people come down here, I have never seen one go in the sea and diving. I don't know if anybody else seen them, but I bet you 100 people can tell you that I was there diving all the time with this company. And the Balboa, they got to tear that up. That is foolishness. It's a disgrace. Me and Bob Soto made the first night dive in the world there. And but they know, you know, oh, they can move it. They can move that. Oh, yeah, but you cannot. You can move it, but it's not going to stay where you put it. And it's not going, you can't move the whole thing. Something like that, and the first underwater movie was made. And I tell you, that was a long time ago. It was so long that they didn't have good electrical tape. I don't know if any of you remember the first time I seen it here, it was like cloth almost, like paper. It wasn't waterproof. So what I had to do, we had one little generator now that we were going to use for the movie. What I had to do was to get asphalt and put over the tape, and we were afraid that, you know, they were going to shock them and kill them down there. So we had a light, especially if they felt anything shocking, he would flash it, you know, if he was still alive. That was Leroy French. He was one of the great movie people. And so something like that, it should not be moved. It should be a statue put there for Bob Soto. Don't worry about me. These people should not do this foolishness. And, you know, I'll tell you something that not too many people know. It's a place of the Kempton Hotel. The Westin Hotel. It's a little bit up in 50 feet of water. And it's a dark hole, big hole, but it's dark. And the divers used to like to go there. I don't know why, because you couldn't see anything. And they was digging a canal. One of the first canals was on the island. I tell you how long ago it was. Burt Jackson was running the crane, and that was a long time ago. And it was a hole. He came to a hole, and he pulled that up, full top. And when I went to dive now, the mud was coming out of this hole. So they got a lot of things to think about before they start any foolishness about dredging. Suppose they run into something like that, what will happen? Mud flood the whole place. And then I heard them on the radio saying they could tie up a cruise ship in 1 minute. That is foolishness. I couldn't tie up my little catboat in 1 minute. So, I better hush, you know, because if I start, I go in jail tonight. Anybody would think, I don't know how many of you know how those cruise ships, engines and stuff is. They're cruise ships. Well, a lot of ships. I'll tell you the whole thing now. Their engine is electric, and it's in the water. It's not aboard the ship. And it's like a big outboard motor. You can turn 360 degrees round and round. That's why he say he can dock in 1 minute. But that don't make sense by 1 minute. Anyway, what happened now, this diesel electric, they got big generators. And this is what they call diesel electric. This thing is under the water, big propellers, and no rudder. This is what steers her. And they got one in the bow that pushes her bow in. And them ships, now they can go 4 inches off the dock, and they'll put her in dynamic position, and DP they call it, and she can stay right there. That might be what he's talking about. Docking, I don't know. But if you put in the longitude and latitude, she will stay right there. And it'll make a lot of mud, kill all the coral, dig it up. So I hope that we get a lot of people and stop this foolishness. The, the only thing that I'm sorry about that there wasn't some of them here tonight so I could tell them. Huh? So you all enjoy the rest of the night. I hope we got a couple more speakers. Good night.
Can we just give him one more hand of applause? I think he really deserves that. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. I think it's really important that we have perspectives like that because we're having a lot of perspectives from the cruise lines, from visiting specialists that do not know about Cayman's waters and as the captain said, might not even know how to swim in our waters. So I think that says a lot. I'm going to bring to the stage from CCMI, Miss Katie Correa. I think I'm saying it right. She's going to do a presentation for CCMI on the health of the reefs. They've just undertaken a study over 10 years, watching and evaluating the health of our reefs, not just in Grand Cayman, but also the Brack and Little Cayman. So she's representing the CCMI. And I'm going to say this because I say this every time, and I'm going to keep saying it, but CCMI is under the patronage of His Royal Highness the Earl of Wessex. I think that's a really significant thing that the royal family has put their name behind CCMI. These are the types of scientists that are coming out and saying, we don't have enough information, and they can't possibly know for sure that there won't be any impact to 7 Mile Beach, that there won't be any negative impacts to, well, there will be negative impacts to our reefs. And so to have scientists like CCMI, I think, is incredibly important. Sorry, I'm ad-libbing because it sounds like she's got technical difficulties. Yeah. So with that, Katie, to the stage.
For a shorter person. All right, good evening, everyone. Oh, excellent. You've already got it working. You guys are awesome. All right, so as Michelle said, my name is Katie Correa. I'm the Science and Education Manager of the Central Caribbean Marine Institute, based primarily over in Little Cayman, but we do plenty of research across all 3 of the Cayman Islands. So I've been asked and welcome to come here and speak on a few of the statistics, some of the research that we've done recently. Now, Mr. Jennings, Captain Jennings, tough act to follow, sir. I hope to speak with you later. But I hope to provide some answers to some of the questions that maybe some people in the audience have had, and some, I'll say, mistruths that have been put out into the media. So that's why I'm here tonight. All right, so first slide, please. Just to give everybody in the audience an idea of, I'm going to come over here because I'm too short to see everything. Oh, it's down there. All right, so for those of you who don't know much about CCMI, just very quickly, we celebrated our 20th anniversary last year, so this is our 21st year in operation. It's pretty cool. We've been on Little Cayman the whole time. We are a research, education, and conservation nonprofit organization. Luckily, we're a nonprofit here in Cayman, but also the UK and the US as well. And I'm looking around, and actually there's some of our previous students in the audience tonight, which is great to see, as well as some parents and grandparents of some of our previous students, and hopefully future students in the room as well. So I do see some familiar faces, even though it's probably obvious that I'm not from West Bay. And Miss Ruth Anna, props. I want to be from West Bay when I hear her talk about that. But that's a bit about CCMI's background. Okay, next slide, please. CCMI's mission is a world with vibrant oceans and healthy coral reefs. Plain and simple, that's our vision, that's our mission. You can see it on our website. At the end of the day, that's what we're here for. This is the long-term monitoring slide. What we wanted to show you here is that CCMI, as well as in conjunction with the Department of Environment, whom we have a very good relationship with, we've been conducting surveys across all 3 of the Cayman Islands since our inception in 1998. And last year, we concluded a 20-year survey across these islands, which took into account benthic habitat cover. So we were looking at everything from the stony corals, the sponges, the soft corals, other invertebrates, and all of the fishes. So everything that Captain Jennings pointed out, we also were researching that as well. Oh, Jackson, my apologies. Clearly I was in the back of the room and didn't hear properly. Mr. Jackson, thank you for correcting me so I didn't continue saying it wrong all evening. So anyway, these 20-year surveys that we were doing, they're the agri-surveys, so Atlantic and Gulf Rapid Reef Assessment Surveys. This is a method that scientists use regionally across the Caribbean as well as in the Atlantic to assess the benthic habitat and fishes. So it's a widely used research method that we're looking at here. And what these found was that coral cover has declined, as you can imagine, from 21% in 1998 to about 15% in 2018. So not a great story to tell. However, there are some areas of hope, and that's what we came back to do in just October. So just last month in the harbor, as well as 5 other sites around West Bay and Georgetown of Grand Cayman, we surveyed some of these sites that were in question and some of the sites that are in the direct impact area of the new port proposed project. So next slide, please. And we found, of these 5 sites that we surveyed, so one more click, please, to the next slide. The 5 sites we surveyed were, of course, the Balboa, Eden Rock, the Carnival site where it was restored, Don Foster's Reef, and 2 sites that were north along 7 Mile Beach area. And of those 5 sites, the Balboa site had the highest percentage of stony coral cover across all 5 sites. The average coral cover at that site was about 22.7%, and some areas of that reef had as high as 58% coral cover. So when you're seeing some of these images showing a dead reef, on average, the Balboa site is 12.7% higher than the 10% global average of stony coral cover, and some areas 58% is 5 times higher than every other site in the 365 dive sites of the Cayman Islands. So pretty significant. The lowest area of coral cover is the Carnival cruise ship restoration site, which I also have to say right here, right now, that we gave this presentation at the CPR launch last Wednesday, and we did have an error on this slide. We did some research. We thought it was restored by Polaris. However, it was not. So that was our error. As you can see, we've corrected it. It's a restored site. We can't find who did restore it. However, the stony coral cover there was the lowest that we found, probably because of that Carnival cruise ship incident. And it was only 7.7% stony coral cover. So quite different than the Balboa Reef. All right, next slide, please. All right, so next we wanted to talk about the Tatoosh anchor drag site. The data that you see on this slide is directly taken from a presentation that was given in 2018 at a scientific conference for the Gulf Coast Fisheries Institute, and this is public knowledge. We found this presentation online. All of this data is freely available, and we just wanted to kind of give some perspective as to the stats that Polaris is giving you are not incorrect stats. Polaris does coral restoration and relocation, that's their job, and CCMI is not saying that they're not doing a good job at what they do. What we're saying is that coral restoration and relocation is mitigation. It's basically saying this horrible decimation to the reefs is going to happen, so we're going to try to help to bring back some of that coral if we can. However, we all know that replacing a subset or a few of those stony corals is not going to replace the entire ecosystem and all of its functions. And so all we wanted to point out in this slide is that we don't disagree with them. They had 89% survival rate at the Tatoosh anchor drag site, and kudos to them because that was a tough job. However, they were only able to move and translocate 1,290 individuals out of the original 5,125. So about 1/5 they were able to move. Of that 1/5, 89% have survived 2 years later, as of 2018. As far as I know, as far as we know, they have not gone out and monitored since the 2-year monitoring in 2018. So we don't know what they look like right now. But all we're also saying here is that 1,290 corals is very different than 500,000 corals. Okay, next slide, please. And then on this slide, we just wanted to say that although there was obviously an environmental impact assessment in 2015 that was done, we of course are advocating for a new environmental impact assessment sooner. Because although the plans have changed and they've gotten smaller, the dredge area has been reduced. A lot of it has been reduced for minimal impacts, which of course I'm sure everybody will appreciate. We'd still like to see an updated environmental impact assessment to see what is in that reef now compared to 2015, because as previously referenced, the 2 years after they replaced those corals at the Tatoosh site, there were still 89% survival. But what's happened in the last year? Things here move quite quickly. So we would like to see another EIA done. Our living reefs are not productive. If they're not productive, then they ultimately can't provide protection and all the other ecosystem services to us, the people of the Cayman Islands. And of course, I'd like to thank Ruth Anna. I'm one of those, love Cayman, can't ever love it as much as most Caymanians can, but I've been here 4 years and I plan to make a lot of my life here. So I appreciate you saying that earlier. Next slide, please. CCMI is also, they want to clarify that we are pro-coral restoration. If anybody in this room knows, we have a coral nursery. Here it is on the slide. CCMI actually had the first nursery in the Cayman Islands, which was started in 2012 along with the Department of Environment and several researchers from the States who flew down to assist us. So we appreciate coral restoration and relocation. It has a place. We're not saying that restoration is not the right way to go. What we are simply saying is that this is a rapidly developing science that is still in its infancy, and there are a lot of questions that we don't know the answer to, and many of those questions are being asked of the people of the Cayman Islands for this project at such a large scale that has never been done successfully before that we can find published evidence of anywhere. That's what we're concerned about, is that perhaps this is the way to move forward, but we don't know because we've never seen it done successfully. So there is a place for restoration, and there is potential for it. We just don't know if this is the project to experiment on such a large scale. All right, last slide, please. Sorry, there's this one. So in regards to the promises and the risks of this project, So essentially, they've also promised that all of this movement of the reefs, translocating of the corals, assessment of the corals can be done in 6 months. A project of this scale has also never been completed in 6 months. Not saying they can't do it, just saying that as scientists, we're looking for evidence. We're looking for proof of previous research done, and we cannot find any. So that is a lofty goal. We've also said that they're going to grow 10 corals per every coral removed from that site. Again, if they are able to do that within 6 months, then I applaud them. I think CCMI would applaud them. However, it's just never been done before, or at least one that we cannot find. If anybody from Verdant Isle Port Partners is out there listening, watching, in the audience, I would welcome you to give us those publications because we've been looking for them and I would happily receive them. All right, last slide, please. Last but not least, just want to say thank you for having me here tonight, representing the Central Caribbean Marine Institute and our president and founder, Dr. Carrie Manfrino. Again, I just wanted to reiterate that whilst I may have my own personal opinions as Katie Correa, I am up here speaking on behalf of CCMI and the statistics and the surveys that we completed in October of this year, just last month, as well as any previous accepted publications that we can find online. So we are researching this every day. We are as concerned as many people in this entire country are. So again, anybody out there who has any scientific evidence, any peer-reviewed articles or publications that may bring to light more answers, please do send them to us because that's what we're looking for is hard evidence of previous research done of restoration and coral transplantation and relocation on this scale that we can apply as knowledge to this project because we're looking for it very hard. So please let us know. Our contact information is on the board here. Our website is reefresearch.org. Pretty easy to find us. CCMI on Little Cayman. There's not much else over there. We love it for that. Otherwise, I just want to say thank you again for allowing me to speak to you tonight. Captain Jackson, I apologize once again. And have a good night. Thank you again. Thank you, Michelle.
Can we just give her another round of applause? I think that's really important. It's really, really important, everything that she said. You know, for me, I'm personally, my involvement in this was always around the reef, was always around the environment. And I think that there's a lot of things that were said by Katie that I think are super important that we need to understand about, you know, the Verdant Isle Port Partners and Polaris in particular. And also, I'm not sure how many of you were able to hear Dr. Kelly Dunning when she spoke, but we're asking for an updated environmental impact assessment. And with that, you know, when I spoke to Kelly personally, she told me we should be asking for anthropologists, we should be asking for social scientists, not just environmentalists, because an environmental impact assessment, although it has the word environment in it, is actually about a whole thing, the social aspect of it, including what that means for us as a community and how it's going to impact our community. So it's super important that we push really hard to have an updated business study and also an updated EIA, because this is the only way that we're really properly going to understand the implications of this project. So on that note, I am pleased to welcome to the stage, I met him like 4 years ago. 4 years ago, he was an aspiring yoga teacher at the time, and now, I don't even know if you teach yoga anymore. He's such an incredible human being. He has a deep love of country. He is an entrepreneur. He has his own business, and he has been giving his perspective quite avidly on Facebook, I'm sure if you guys have seen. And I think he's going to give us his perspective on this, and I'm welcoming to the stage Mr. Troy Leacock.
Hi guys, can you hear me? All right, I can't go up on that stage because I tend to get kind of animated when I talk, and if I go up there, I gotta fall off, all right? So it's a heck of a lot shorter to fall if I fall here than if I fall from up there. So Ruthann, I have been called Driftwood, all right? A couple weeks ago, Driftwood. But the funny thing is, my mother's there, my aunt is there, and they're like the family historians. And like, no matter how far back we go, we can't find where we don't have an ancestor that was in Cayman. So honestly, unless we're like descended from the turtles or something like that, I just really don't know. I don't understand this. But all I can tell you is I need to establish my West Bay credentials, okay? I grew up on Elizabeth Street. Well, actually, I spent my nights on Elizabeth Street. My days were at Mrs. School or True For You School. And if we weren't in school, me and Bernie was running seas on slippery ledges off Bogasan Road, all right? So I am a West Bayer. My grandfather was one of the first cruise ship captains. And we have a long history of the love of the sea. At age 18, I did my first dive on Eden's Rock and Devil's Grotto. My first night dive was done on the Balboa 35 years ago with Gina Ebanks, and I'm so sad that she has been sidelined and the DOE. I cannot tell you how much that upsets me, because 35 years ago, I stood on the stage at the old town hall and went to every single district in the Cayman Islands to convince our people to establish marine parks. And thankfully, those are being expanded. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. And I feel so impassioned about what we need to do. But so many people have spoken about the environment. So many people have spoken about the need to just take care of our beaches and whatnot. I'm not even going to talk about that topic. I'm going to establish for you right now my business credentials. Because I actually think that I am one of the people that is uniquely placed to be able to talk about the business case for this. And the reason why, I have a water sports business. My son also has another business. Between the two of us, we run about 6 boats in the North Sound. And we run private charters. And between us, we have, I guess, probably about 14 employees, the majority of which are Caymanian. And we run over 2,000 charters a year in the North Sound. We engage over 20,000 visitors. I talk to guests or people who are planning to come to the Cayman Islands 365 days a year. Every single day I'm having conversations. But the interesting thing about our business, my business, is this. Unlike some operators that cater only to cruise and therefore are pro-growing cruise, or some other businesses, let's say the hotel or hospitality industry that cater only to stay over, my business has its revenue almost the same proportion as the revenue that the Cayman Islands has as a whole for tourism. So in about 20% of my revenue is from cruise tourism, and 80% comes from stay over. So why would someone whose 99% of our revenue comes from tourism, why would someone who has such a substantial amount from cruise tourism be 101% against this project as is proposed? I could not be any more against this project, And I'm going to tell you why. And I could talk from now to tomorrow night about why I'm against this, okay? But I'm going to limit it to 3 reasons. Reason number 1, a dollar is not a dollar. Now you guys understand this, right? Because you understand that if you ask me to break $10 CI and I give you $2 $5 US, you understand that a dollar is not a dollar, right? You understand that? Okay, so we all know that the stay-over guests spend much more than the cruise guests, right? We know that, we understand that. They're here for 5 days, whatever. But what we don't understand until we start to peel this back is a cruise dollar is not a stay-over dollar. In fact, the cruise dollar, not even a US dollar. All right? The cruise dollar is a Canadian dollar. And I Googled this today, and a Canadian dollar is worth 63 cents CI. Okay? So a cruise dollar is a Canadian dollar. and a stayover dollar is a CI dollar. Now you ask, why is that? But a dollar's a dollar. Okay, just bear with me because we're going to run some numbers now, right? So roughly speaking, we get $200 million a year from the cruise industry. But when we look at where that money is spent, the Compass used the Bree report a couple weeks ago and put it in the paper. 31%, almost a third, 31% of the cruise visitor spend is on watches and jewelry. Those two items, 31%. Okay? Moses talked about the number of taxi drivers we're going to need. Like, we're going to need 10,000 taxi drivers. Every Caymanian going to be driving a taxi, all right? Every Caymanian going to be driving a taxi. Do you know how much the average cruise visitor spends on taxis? 2%, $1.88 is how much the average cruise visitor spends on taxis. And in fact, it's not taxis, it's ground transportation, including taxis. Now, I don't know if anybody's taken a taxi in Cayman anytime soon, recently, but $1.88 wouldn't get me from here to that door, all right? But yet, that is the average spend. So, 31% on watches and jewelry. By the time you include perfume, makeup, t-shirts, alcohol, we're up to almost 60% of the spend is on retail goods. Guys, what is being proposed is to build a cruise ship parking lot so that they can bring shoppers to get off easily to go to the Georgetown retail district. That is where the money is being spent. You just look at where the money is. Now, my family business is in retail. My father was 49 years in the retail industry. I ran that business for many years. I understand retail. The thing about retail, so we got 200 million in cruise spend, 60% of which is 120 million, is spent on retail, right? And they would have us believe that the cruise industry pumps 200 million into our economy. But this is where it becomes a Canadian dollar, all right? Because what actually happens is that $120 million of retail goods, you got to send money overseas to Switzerland for the watches, to France for the perfumes, to everywhere else to buy those goods, right? So that 120 that's injected into our economy isn't actually 120, because 80 million of that needs to be sent to buy the goods, all right? So that is why, by the time we've paid for the goods, that 200 million that's injected into our economy is actually 120 million, all right? And that's why it's 60 cents on the dollar. When somebody gets a massage or buys a meal at a restaurant or some other service in the stayover industry, that money has an economic multiplier effect. That money stays in the economy and is worth more and more and more. The cruise industry is about retail shopping. Guys, you know, it doesn't matter if you believe that this should go forward or not, but let's call it for what it is, okay? We are building a parking lot for cruise ships to come in and easily offload the shoppers. If you want Cayman to be a shopping mall, then vote yes. I don't want it to be a shopping mall, all right? I don't want it to be a shopping mall. That's reason number one. A dollar is not a dollar. A cruise ship dollar is a Canadian dollar. A stayover dollar is a CI dollar. The second reason, the cruise ships are not our friends. They're not our benefactors. They are not our partners. Okay? I know, I mean, they always talk about the West Bay with a boat. Well, I'm a West Bay with a boat. I got several boats, okay? But I know that there are a lot of West Bayers that have boats, that have contracts with the cruise ships. And the cruise ships go around. The guy from RCL stood up here last week and said, we go around, we're wholesale buyers, right? We go around and we get the lowest price to go to Stingray City or to any excursion or activity. So we believe that they're our partners because we're working together. No, 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 no. We are a supplier this year, and next year, when they find somebody to do it cheaper, that's going to be the new supplier for them, okay? This is why year after year after year, the price paid to the local supplier has always gone down, okay? They are not partners with us. The reality is, okay, is that And you know, it doesn't make them evil. They are a publicly traded company. Their obligation as employees and managers of that company is to maximize the revenue and the profit to their shareholders. That's their mandate. That's what they have to do. So how do they do that? Well, you know, if a family of 4 has $5,000 to spend for a week's vacation and they're going on a cruise, the cruise ship really wants to get all of that $5,000. Okay? No, they can't get all of it, so they give a few pennies here and there to the local operators. But the reality is they want to get all of that money, right? They want to maximize their profit. So when they come to local operators, what they're trying to do is they're trying to lower their cost base, which is the price to you. So I am speaking to the other local operators here and saying to them, there is another way. All right? There is another way. If you want to know how to market to cruise ship guests, you come and talk to me. I will show you. I don't do a dollar. I don't do a penny with the cruise ships. But yet 20% of my revenue comes from cruise guests. But the important thing is, we have ceded control. We have ceded control to them. And we're about to give them even more control. Do you remember when Mike Bailey was here a few weeks ago, or maybe it was a couple months? And somebody raised a question, I think, on one of the talk shows and said, we are already overwhelmed at Stingray City. And I'll tell you something, you go to Stingray City on a cruise ship day, it's dangerous. I mean, it is literally dangerous. Somebody's going to get killed out there, okay? It's dangerous. The stingrays don't even want to go out there. You know, you've got 2,000 pairs of legs from the cruise ship guests, and you've got 4 rays that you have to hand from one person to the next. You go out there at 5 o'clock in the evening when there's hardly any boats, and you're surrounded by rays, 30, 40, 50 rays. But when you've got 2,000 people, there are no rays. But anyway, getting back to this now. Okay. So Mike Bailey said, the way you manage capacity is through price. Now, what's the last time anybody here went to Stingray City and paid a ticket to get into Stingray City? As far as I know, there's no price to get to Stingray City, right? So let's just think about this for a second. The price of Stingray City. Am I going to set the price to control bring the demand in line with the supply? Am I going to set the price? Is the government going to set the price? Are the local operators that do contracts with the cruise ships, they're going to set the price? They can't even set their price that they get from the cruise ship. I'll tell you who's going to set the price for Stingray City. The cruise ships are going to set the price to Stingray City. We are giving them the ability to destroy our valuable resources to park their ships, and we're giving them the ability to price our natural resources. What they are going to do is this. If they have more visitors that want to go to Stingray City than we have capacity for, they're going to raise the price. So today, they sell an excursion to Stingray City for $80 and they pay you $15. They're going to raise it to $90. They might raise it to $100, right? To bring demand in line with supply. You think they're going to come to you and say, hey, Bobo, I got $20 more. I'm going to give you this $20? No. Remember, they have to maximize their revenue. They have to maximize their profit, okay? So who is going to set the price for Stingray City? RCL and Carnival are going to set the price. They bring 80% of the cruise ship visitors to Cayman, and we're about to give them control over the berths. We are giving away our country and our natural resources. But you know, the thing is, with both of those reasons for voting no, we can roll them back. The third reason for voting no, and this is a reason that, honest to God, it almost brings tears to my eyes. It makes me feel like my stomach knots up. My fourth grandchild, a granddaughter, was born on Saturday, 2 days ago. And when I think of how much we are in danger of not passing on to her the pride that I have in the Cayman Islands, I need you to listen to this carefully, because this is, I almost feel like it's one of the most important things. Cayman is developing a reputation in the travel world. People who are looking for places to go. who are researching places to go. We are developing a reputation of at certain times of the day, certain days of the week, certain months of the year, of being overcrowded. Okay? I don't need to ask anybody this. I have thousands of conversations a year. I have guests who will call me and say to me, now remember, we have a live system. You can go on my website now, you can see what availability I have. I'll get a phone call. Can we go out on Monday? No, I'm afraid we're fully booked, but Tuesday's available. Oh yeah, but I see that there's 6 cruise ships in on that day. I would rather not go out on that day. They're not even asking me what day is crowded. You look at the reviews for Cayman, you look at all of the various information that's shared. I love Cayman. We are becoming known for having mass tourism, for having overcrowding, for being unpleasant to go to our attractions. Stingray City is our #1 attraction in Cayman, and yet people are avoiding that. I have guests that say to me, I'm not going to Georgetown on this day to go shopping. All right, you talk to some of the shop vendors in town, they'll tell you that their worst days are the days that the cruise ships are in town, okay? Cruise tourism is based on the premise of volume. Cruise tourism is mass tourism, and mass tourism, in my opinion, is mad tourism, all right? I have an email. I should have probably brought it. I could have actually. This one blows me away. I mean, it makes me laugh. I got an email, I think it was about a year ago, and I think the charter was this March. And the email said to me something like, we're coming in March on this cruise ship, and it happened to be a day in the highest season when there were like 6 ships on board in that day. And an email, and this is the gospel truth. I mean, it's crazy. He actually said, we're coming in on such and such a trip on March 4th, whatever it is. Full stop. We hate crowds, right? Will you be able to take us to a private beach? Now, this is a man that's coming in on a cruise ship that got 4,500 guests. On a day then, there's 6 cruise ships in, right? And we hate crowds. Even the people that go cruising don't like crowds, right? They don't like crowds. We are on the precipice. We are on the precipice. We are on the edge of the cliff. We are about to make the most terrible mistake we have ever made as a nation. We are about to destroy the very essence of what has brought and continues to bring people to our islands. We have got to join together, hold hands, and step back from the edge of this cliff. We are going to destroy our tourism, all of our tourism. This is why I, as a tourism industry provider, recognizes that this is a terrible mistake. For short-term gain, we cannot do this. It is smoke and mirrors. Do not believe the propaganda. We do not need this, we do not want this, and it is going to destroy our tourism industry. Please come out and vote on December 19th and vote no. Thank you so much. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Troy. You see why I said he's so insightful. He says things and I think about it after, oh my God, where did that come from, Troy? Let's just give him one more round of applause, because I think he said some really profound things. Yeah. We're nearing the end of our program, so I'd like to welcome back to the stage Mr. Bernie Bush. Although I don't, there, okay.
Now, I hope everybody understands why I didn't want to speak that much, even though it's supposed to be a meeting together. What CPR has put together here for the people to understand is awesome. And people are talking facts. What is so amusing, Troy and myself were sitting there talking earlier on, and I said to Troy, there's a lady who owns a store right on the waterfront in town. She lives in West Bay North, out on the Cobalt Coast side. She says on a cruise ship day, if she makes $150, she makes plenty. On a cruise ship day. She said on non-cruise ship days, she makes good money because people don't want to come into town where the tourists are, where the cruise line people are. So it goes hand in hand with what Troy said. It's a fact. Another thing that I want people to understand, and that is some figures. And like I said earlier on, Mr. Chris Saunders, the MLA for Bordentown West, and Mr. Ezra Miller was supposed to speak, but the House is still in session, so they didn't make it. But here are some other facts. Cayman has no pier. Our next door neighbor, which once they stop in Jamaica, they stop here. They have 3 piers. Yet, just to use the month of June, we had the figures right here. For the month of June 2019, the Cayman Islands had 104,527 passengers, 37,975 more than Jamaica. And they got 3 pairs. We have none. If Jamaica has 3 main ports, all with piers, and Cayman has 1 port with no pier, and both in Jamaica and Cayman we're on the same run, why did Cayman get more? Simple. It's the product we have here. It's the clean island. It's a clean island. No people stressing people when they come off the boats and so forth. And some extremely clean water. So why should we mess with this? And a lot of people say, why did you make the decision? It's very, very simple. Without any figures, without Troy's facts, without the figures that Chris Saunders likes to throw out, I would say it's very simple. The EIA report clearly said that it's unlikely it will affect the 7 Mile Beach. Unlikely is the magic word. That's not positively not. Unlikely. Do we want to take that chance? And that right there is a deciding factor. Like Troy, I too have grandchildren. And it is something that we must think about. And I'm going to say to the people here, we are going to win this referendum. Every trick that has been tried, that can be tried, they're doing it. They have people confused, so that people are saying, it doesn't make any sense to go out, because it's a done deal. And they have said it themselves. Another thing I've heard people with, by Mr. B, even if we win, they're still going to do it. I'm telling you all, it is not so. Once we pass that mark and we win, they cannot do it. They cannot do it. And it's something that I've realized in the last 2 weeks. Do you know, besides CPR, beside those of us on the other side of the house, do you know who's pushing this referendum? The children. It's unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. These people have even gone, they've got a latest advert that we've seen, is people on the cruise ship talking about if they had a pier, they would stay on land longer. Now, once again, the research king, Chris Saunders, MLA Chris Saunders, showed all of the countries that stay over time. Because remember, they also said one time that, oh, if you put the cruise ship pier, the cruise ships will stay longer. Not so. Because they have to be at the next stop at a certain time. They are not going to stay here any longer at all. That is not so. Go ahead, mate. Well, we got a question thing afterward if you want. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead. It's all about you all. There you go. Here it is again. It's more reason. People come off the cruise ship, they run around a little bit, they go back on the cruise ship, get some food, and they come back of anything. So don't make them tell you all of this foolishness and how they've selected certain things to advertise. It is unbelievable. But what has happened, people are not stupid. A lot of people are seeing through what's going on, and people are going out to vote just to let them know that they're not fooled. At UCCI, they had a graduation or a ceremony for all of the children who graduated with the president's, dean's list, and so forth. There was 3 generations from my family down Northwest Point. The grandmother, the daughter, and the granddaughter. The granddaughter stood right there in the UCCI hall and looked at her grandmother and said, "This is a vote that I need from you. I need you to vote for me." And the grandmother said, "You got it." Saturday, I was at Cost You Less. I bumped into her mother. I said, "Are you coming Monday night?" She says, "I want to come if I get off of class early, but," she says, I said, "you need to come and hear why you should vote no against this port." And she said, "My kids are telling me to vote no. My children are telling me to vote no." That was awesome. That's what I'm telling you all. The children, your generation is pushing this just as much as we are. We have to praise God that our younger generation is a lot wiser. I really want to hear some of the other people speak, but there's one thing I've found out. I don't know why it's caused such an uproar. I don't know why some people are so upset about it, but I want you all to let them know that not all of us are going to be for rent or we're not for sale. Simple as that. CPR, it was a pleasure this first time working with you guys, and I'm hoping on December the 3rd, we're going to bring more information to you here at the hall again on December the 3rd. We'll have some other speakers. But everybody who's going to come up here, I guarantee you, is going to speak the truth, and they're going to speak from their heart. And they're not up here looking anything in return. Now, you looked at Troy, spoke just now. His business is this. And I'll tell you something else. I went to one Florida Cruise Line Association meeting. It's one thing that the cruise line know, that the islands can't stick together, and that the people on land can't stick together, and they take advantage of us. And like he said, this year, Tom Brown is doing the thing for $14. Next year, he find Jim Brown to do it, and he'll do it for $12. The first one, you're out your way. This is the way they operate. They pit us against each other, divide and conquer. We should have, and as far as I'm concerned, maybe the government should even step in and say, "Listen, you are not going to pay our operators on this country anything less than $50 a head or whatever. If you're charging $80 or $90 a head on the ship, maybe you should maybe we should be collecting $50. It's our roads that's getting wear and tear. It's us have to clean up the garbage after you guys leave. Everything is on us, and you guys are making all of the money. And like I said before, I'll tell you all something. That 7 Mile beach disappear, the first people to disappear will be the cruise lines. They'll be the first people to disappear. And what is the connection It is so amazing. As a little boy, myself, Randy Soto, Danny Soto, and Kem Jackson's son, we all were out in the harbor in Georgetown, diving, skiing. And you hear them talk about moving some of those pan shores. Listen to me, you have some pan shores out there that's 10, 15, 20 feet across, just the head of it. You can't get that transplanted. You're not going to get that to grow anywhere else once you ruin it. Then you look at Shirley, that's up here. Every Friday evening, you see 3 people get off the CCC bus and walk up on Bogasan Road. That was Shirley, Sharon, and Frank. And they stay West Bay until Sunday evening with the time to go back up. So they're half West Bayers, half Towners. And they know about the slippery ledges, just like Troy and a bunch of us. Ruth Anna, she was the shot put champion for West Bay Primary School. And she won the shot put championship for the whole island. So that's the kind of connection. Everybody in here, we know what it was all about. And I'm going to say, those of you who have come here and become Caymanians, I'm thankful for you all for standing and fighting. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bernie. I'm not quite as old as Bernie. Actually, I think I'm older than him, but yeah, we had some good times up on Bogasan Road. Like I tell a lot of people, my mom is a Georgetowner by birth, but she's a West Bayer by choice. So I spent a lot of time in West Bay, my second home. Next, it gives me great pleasure to introduce one of the Muppet leaders. We know him better as the Energizer Bunny of our group. I don't know where he finds the energy. He's always doing research. He never sleeps. The man is going constantly. I can't even tell you how much respect. I have a deep love and respect for our next speaker. He's very well read. He knows a lot that's going on, and he's not ashamed or afraid to speak the truth and to speak his mind. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Mario Rankin.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not going to claim that I'm from West Bay, trust me. But I will say that my grandfather's a West Bayer and my grandmother is an Easterner. And I grew up in Georgetown, so when you talk about balance, that's the perfect balance. But obviously, I just want to say thank you very much, Troy, for your contribution tonight. And I think that, or I encourage you to write a viewpoint so that we can have it posted everywhere for everyone to read. I'm happy that you spoke about the numbers. So what was really important about Troy's contribution was how he broke down the numbers and what it means. And even to myself, learned something new tonight from Mr. Kem in terms of having the first night dive ever in the world in Cayman. I don't know why that's not on a plaque somewhere globally. I really don't. So we could do a better job in promoting our marine environment and our dive industry. And Bloody Bay was ranked Skin Diver's best dive site in the world for many years. But one of the key things that I want to really share, I think it's really important that we understand, is that prior to 2009, the Caymanian people didn't have a voice. Prior to the 2009 Constitution reform, which I didn't vote for, by the way, we didn't have an opportunity to voice our opinion on any public platform that would have mattered. We normally used to go with whatever cabinet decided to do, that's what we lived with, whether it was good or bad. That was a typical landscape in the Cayman Islands. Now we have an opportunity where we can voice our opinion, and we can actually have that opinion taken seriously by way of referendum. Section 70 gives us that voice. So this precedent is more than the cruise industry, more about the cruise pair. It's about Caymanians having a unique opportunity since the late 1800s to finally unite and express ourselves the way we did then before we were hijacked by the colonial system. So when we look at this particular situation, and I think what's real important here is when we hear people say that they want a win-win situation, which Mr. Michael Bailey said on several occasions, and in the same breath, he touted us with the idea that we should use common sense. Now, what's really ironic, like Troy and other speakers mentioned tonight, we've been catering and accommodating cruise passengers for 56 years. 56 years we've been tendering passengers into our shores. We have some of the best sea captains that went away with less than a third grade education and came back as captains and engineers. I think that speaks volumes for the work ethic and how professional Caymanians are. So if by extension we don't press forward with that same principle and professionalism, then it's our fault. When we look at Royal Caribbean, which I think is the Cadillac of cruise, they engaged in negotiations to tender their ships. You know, the articles are out now, people get to read it. So for the life of me, I don't understand. If they're so interested in the continuity and the increased economic growth and the tour operators and all these different people that they speak so passionately about, they could have been tendering their ships from 2011. We signed a contract with them, and I can tell you why we signed the contract. We bought and facilitated, we spent money in order to accommodate. So in 2015, when the idea was resurfaced for cruise berthing facility, they kicked that report and that agreement to the side. They didn't want people in the Cayman Islands to catch wind or light of that document that they would tender their ships. It's not that their ships can't be tendered, it's because they won't tender them. The Western itinerary is an itinerary in itself. We're not competing with any other jurisdiction in the Caribbean, I can assure you, because we're not Trinidad, we're not Jamaica, we're not Grenada, we're not St. Lucia. We're the Cayman Islands, and it's the only one. So we're not competing in the cruise industry. I can tell you that is a misleading fact that they've been pushing for very long. The reality is that the Western itinerary, like Bernie mentioned, suffered dramatic decline in their cruise passengers simply because Royal pulled their Oasis ship off of the itinerary. And the reason they did that is because they couldn't fill the ship because Cayman wasn't on the itinerary. So, you know, we sit here and we had numerous meetings. In the last 18 months, I can tell you, I feel like we just keep hitting the reset button, and I don't know for the life of me why the pro-port people, and I speak directly to them because I don't know what it is that they've been told that we haven't been told. Because I can assure you, the idea that we're willing to sell what we have as a unique jurisdiction for money, that just blows my mind. I mean, I can't even comprehend it. When we look at the Western itinerary, do you understand that we're the only destination on that itinerary that is a first world country? Every other jurisdiction that has sold the cruise line the opportunity to build a pier in their environment, those countries are third world countries with struggling economies. You know, it's really hard for me to believe that we're so eager to become like every other jurisdiction in the Caribbean. I just don't see how is it that our government could sit down at a negotiation table and accept the terms and the condition in which we are being bombarded with. Troy said it better than anybody else. They're looking for a parking lot. The reason why they want to park their ships on a berth so people can get on and off. If you look at the Cruise Line Association, if you look at their business model, their objective is to keep people on their ship as long as possible. Cayman is not the vacation. Their ship and their cruise is the vacation. We're just a stop. They're not our customers. That's their customers. So when they book onshore excursions in Cayman, with the full power to manipulate the pricing, is exactly what Troy said. That's an extra added bonus. And I can assure you that a large part of the revenue that they generate on onshore excursions in Cayman is, on onshore excursions doesn't come from Cayman. They have multiple, there's 80 other islands that they go to. That's where a large part of their onshore excursion money comes from. But the reality is that they can't put one single person on any of their ships that don't have Cayman on itinerary in the Western itinerary. That's the reality. So we must understand our net worth. We must understand what value we are to them, not the other way around. So we look at the defilement pair, and I keep saying defilement pair because Jamaica is in a large part, you know, heavily involved with Cayman. I bet you every person in this room tonight, either family to a Jamaican or know somebody that's in your family that's part of a Jamaican. So Jamaica is a part of our culture and our society, whether we like it or not. My father's a Jamaican. So when we look at the defilement pair, we must look at it with a magnifying glass. When they first built that in 2009, and I can tell you, we can cut and paste the exact same road show that Michael Bailey is on right now. We're going to increase your volumes by 40%. We're going to generate 700 jobs. We're going to create all of this economic growth in and around the Falmouth area for the Falmouth people. Well, let me just tell you something. In June of 2019, the mayor of Falmouth, who runs the town and the township, not the politician, applied an application to the Minister of the Jamaican Tourism to get back control of that pier because they gated it off. And they only have a select few who have businesses within the gated community, who are in business with the cruise line. So when you hear Michael Bailey said on the radio a couple weeks ago when he said that we'll be shuttling people out of the Georgetown port, where do you think he's shuttling them people to? All of those tour operators and all those taxi drivers and all those bus drivers, you think they're getting any of that revenue? They're not seeing one single dollar of that revenue. So I don't care how many people they bring extra, above and beyond what we have now. It's not going to generate any more revenue for the local tour operators. Unless you see a booking booth in downtown with every single operator have his spot in there, that they encourage their passengers when they come on shore, that's where you got to go to book your tour. And every tour operator have the equal opportunity to have a balanced opportunity to get piece of the business, then they're not in the best interest of the Cayman Islands. I can assure you of that. We have not only a unique environment, but now we have a unique opportunity. Because this precedent that we're about to set on the 19th of December is going to send a shockwave, a ripple effect through all wannabe politicians, for lack of a better term, because that's what we've been accused of this entire time. So everybody that feel like they want to run for politics in the Cayman Islands, this moment in history will set the precedent in the bar for all of those politicians who wants to come in with their own personal self-serving agendas. They'll know now that they have to answer to the people of these islands. And I can tell you, if our word never meant anything before, I can assure you by the words of the Premier that if he loses this referendum, and I quote, he would have to rethink his position as Premier. So if our word never meant anything before, now is the time that we see the writing on the wall, that it means a whole lot to him, at the very least. So on the referendum day, it's imperative, it's our collective responsibility as Caymanians and new Caymanians and wannabe Caymanians. It's our collective responsibility to hold and safeguard our environment so that the future generations can do exactly what we've done when we were growing up, where we can enjoy the environment that our forefathers fought hard to preserve for us. Without their fight, we wouldn't be on this stage tonight. We wouldn't be fighting for any of this. The Falmouth, Jamaica, if you go to 1989, there's some satellite images. I'll try to share it on my Facebook page. There are some satellite images of Falmouth, Jamaica, in the exact location where that pier is. And it was some of the most beautiful beaches in Jamaica. And if you look at it right now, because it's behind the reef, if you look at the geographic map of it, it's behind the reef. Can you imagine? They went in behind the reef and dug a 60-foot hole in that entire channel and busted through the reef head. And now, nowhere in and out of that Falmouth port, anybody could swim, not even to fish. So I can assure you, like Mr. Kem said, when you see a 10-story, 280,000-ton ship parked in Georgetown Harbor and have to disembark because there was a freak nor'wester. Because I can assure you, the day gonna come when they parked on that pier and a nor'wester gonna brew up just as quick as it did a couple days ago. Because I went home at 6:30 and by 8 o'clock, they were taking the gates out of Georgetown Harbor. It was that quick. And he also pointed out something that was really important. They cannot disembark once tied up to that pier in 10 minutes. It's impossible. Or 1 minute, my bad. I gave them a whole extra 100%. But the important thing is here is that we understand what it is we're fighting for. We know what it is we're fighting for. We're not going on the 19th to participate in a referendum so we can teach the government a lesson, you know. We're going on the 19th so we can save our island. It's the only opportunity, you know. So this will probably be the only opportunity a lot of us get, because we don't know when the next referendum will be. We don't know when we're going to exercise this right again. But this may be the only opportunity for a lot of people to actually vote for the Cayman Islands, be a part of the movement and the process that saved it. And I tell you, Troy, I feel for people like you who are in this industry and understand the value of that dollar and understand that that dollar, or no dollars at all, is worth the pristine environment that we have. We cannot put a price on that. And for just that one reason alone, we should cease this project. And we need to we need to find out what our carrying capacity is. Because even currently now, Troy, you really opened my eyes up tonight, and I will be doing an immense amount of research in that regard. Where we currently sit, we are right now not having great experiences with the 1.9 million and the 1.8 million. So we haven't been able to manage infrastructurally how to deal with those people to create a better quality experience. And we all know that mass cruise will kill the overall product. That's 100%. Every other jurisdiction that went mass cruise has suffered tremendously in their stay over. And a lot of their onshore infrastructure, like hotels and restaurants, are all closed. Just go look at Santo Domingo. 7 brand new hotels on the beach, all closed because they went to mass cruise. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to hold up the night. I'll just simply emphasize that on the 19th of December, we must go out and vote no. Under no circumstances should we stand silently and allow this cabinet or any other cabinet in the future to sell out our environment for an extra couple dollars, because it's not worth it. You guys have a good night.
Thank you, Mario. I call him Super Mario. Now you know why, right? Before I introduce the next guest, I would just like to bring your attention to the beautiful slide presentation that we've seen tonight. I'm sure at some point in time you guys have seen videos and photos of dead reefs, and that's what's being touted as what we will lose with the proposed port project. This, my friends, is what we have to lose. We cannot trade this for a man-made reef that might turn over and be destroyed in the first nor'wester. I'd like to thank Mr. Courtney Platt for these beautiful, please give him a big round of applause. These pictures of our reefs and our wrecks is what we stand to lose with this project. Don't let anybody fool you, and don't let anybody convince you to trade that for some little man-made reef a couple 100 yards away. Thank you, Courtney. Our next guest is larger than life. He's the Muppet Daddy, the pack leader, a very respected businessman in the community. Everybody knows him as Johan Moxham. He's on the radio constantly and providing truth and information left and right, and he's not afraid to take on anybody. And trust me, he's not afraid of anybody. It's my pleasure to welcome Yo-Yo to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening to those at home watching, those listening on the radio, on Facebook. But more importantly, thank you to everybody in the hall who has attended tonight. Greatly appreciated taking time out of your busy schedules away from your family. So on behalf of CPR, I want to say a massive thank you. Also want to thank Miss April and her team for bringing this live to those at home. And before we get into this, I just want to explain a couple of things. All the speakers tonight were talking about their West Bay sort of credentials, so on and so forth. I love a girl from West Bay, so that got to count for something. You know what I'm saying? Apparently I got West Bay roots that I wasn't aware of till tonight, so I just found a seventh cousin apparently in the crowd, so thanks, cuz. Really and truly, ladies and gentlemen, I have the easiest job for the night because I get to listen to some really incredible speakers. Mr. Kem, Troy, Mr. Leacock, Miss Korea from CCMI, Super Mario, MLA Bernie Bush. Want to say a massive, massive thank you. One, for just being one of the few elected representatives in my adult life prepared to vote your conscience, speak your truth, and do what your constituents have asked of you, which is to represent them. I don't know what kind of Kool-Aid you're drinking, but I wish you would give some to the others, to be honest with you. Ladies and gentlemen, as I was saying, not going to be up here long because we want to have, believe it or not, a question and answer session. You know why? CPR and MLA Bernie Bush have nothing to hide. Unlike the government meetings where you're kind of shackled and contained and you have to write questions and it's very sort of sterile, we believe that participation and engagement from the crowd is important, so I won't be up here very long. That much I promise you. And having said that, I need a favor. I've seen some pictures come out of the LA. Apparently, the TV can only show what's in front of them, and so we have some of our pro-port colleagues and some of our friends in the government who seem to think that there are only 12 people at the meeting. I just want to say to them, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a Cayman Islands government or Verdant Isle Port Partners meeting, and I want you to welcome them by, on the count of 3, saying 2 things. Vote no. Let them know you're here. 1, 2, 3. Vote no! I hope I heard that loud and clear, okay? I counted 157 people here. I think the government would have appreciated 15 people, to be honest with you, because at their Savannah meeting, I counted 7 of them, and that does not include the panel. Behave yourselves, behave yourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, I say all that to say this. What we're looking at here and what we're doing as a group, CPR, private citizens, MLA, Bernie Bush, again, you are a leader and a lion amongst lambs, sir, and I can't tell you that enough, because for you to potentially take the risk of incurring the wrath of your constituents and crossing the floor when you were sitting on a government bench, there is nobody else elected today that would have, one, done the sort of canvassing of constituents that you did, but more importantly, had the courage to do the right thing. And that's exactly what this country is missing. Leaders who understand that they're there to represent us. They're not there to represent the cruise lines. They're not there to collect a big fat salary. They're there to represent the people that had the courage and the respect to put them in the positions to be elected and to serve as our representatives. So again, every time I look at you, I just can't believe that you're the only one who's done so. And I personally think in West Bay North, they're going to have to come good to really unseat you, sir, because you have set the stage for what leadership looks like. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we've had a some incredible speakers. You know, Mr. Leacock there, I met him really last week, and we've had some exchanges, and I'll tell you this, I want to hang out with you for a long, long time. You are dynamic, you're intelligent, you're brave, and you speak the truth. And that's what Caymanian people need, and that is what I think is happening to us as a country. We're finally getting to the stage where Caymanians feel comfortable to speak their truth, ask their questions, hold the elected government accountable, and say, hold on, that isn't good enough. What isn't good enough, and the best example of that, ladies and gentlemen, is we have an elected government right now, the government of national unity, that are saying to you, trust me, vote yes if you want a better life and if you believe in prosperity. You don't have an updated EIA. There's no final business case. All of the salient facts and informations that you would need, or most rational people would need to make an informed decision, they are depriving each and every one of us of that, yet expect for us to buy into their propaganda, to believe their misrepresentations, and to support them because they say it's the right thing to do. Ladies and gentlemen, Cayman is evolving. Caymanians are waking up, and Caymanians are tired of being speaking down to, having our leadership demonstrate a clear lack of respect for us, and more importantly, bullying us into thinking that what benefits a select few is the best thing for the majority. Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for us to stand up, to speak out, and to put actions behind our words, and that's what CPR represents. It is a diverse group of Caymanians who are challenging the status quo, asking the questions and saying, for those that speak Spanish, no más. No more, no más. We have concerns that we need addressed, and we are asking our elected government and our elected representatives to do what you get paid for. Represent the people, speak to the people, canvass the people. Before a government position is formulated, they should have enough respect for each of us, or the majority of people that they represent at a minimum, to say, my position is formulated because I have spoken to X number of constituents and they are guiding me, so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, the fact that they think that their personal and ego-driven agenda are enough to cause us to follow like sheep, those days are done. There's something called the internet. Caymanians are more educated now than ever before. We've always been a hard-working, industrious people. We come from fantastic stock and great genetics. So for anybody elected to think that they could sugarcoat and sell us a bag of goods and sell us apples, and when they're really lemons, we're better than that. And the proof is in the pudding, ladies and gentlemen. The government talk about prosperity, and do you want prosperity, or do you want failure, or do you want, the status quo? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm in the District of West Bay right now. The District of West Bay has, sorry, before I get to that, what I'm about to say isn't intended to offend anybody. It isn't politically motivated. I'm not seeking to be elected. I'm making an observation. Hear me out. When you have representatives who are prepared to tell you that you expressing your view, asking your questions, holding them accountable is the equivalent of challenging the government and unstabling the government and leading some sort of revolution and basically doing it because you are politically motivated, that is an insult to every single person that cares for this country. We all live here. We all have children. We all want a better life for today and for the future. But what happens is, the minute any one person or two people or 10 people or a hall of people start asking questions, in their mind, apparently you're all political wannabes. Apparently you're all running for office. Apparently you all are trying to destabilize the government. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our democratic right to ask these questions. That's all we're doing. And the fact that they've never been held accountable at this level by this many people, that's not our problem. That is their problem. And we must not ever stop exercising our democratic rights. This referendum is about participatory democracy. It is the first time that anybody outside of election day has had to deal with the voice, the concern, the faces, the diversity of Caymanian people going, oi, we're not buying what you're selling. And the reason why we're not doing that is because we're tired of the lies, we're tired of the misrepresentations, we're tired of the half-truths, we're tired of the sweet talk and lots of promises. And I'm going to show you how their campaign is built on sweet talk and promises. Ladies and gentlemen, in this district of West Bay, a large portion of the men that I know and the people that I know work in water sports, tour bus, taxi operations, okay? Noble, hardworking, honest jobs, all right? I respect each and every one of the persons involved in that industry. I respect everybody who's in tourism. I want every single Caymanian to maximize their ability to make as much money as possible to take home to look after their responsibilities and their parents and their, as parents and their families, so on and so forth. The government would have you believe we are a bunch of elitists, people that don't care, and we don't understand your struggle. I'm here to tell you and to give you a best example of why I care and why I'm prepared to ask the questions, stand up, advocate, and lobby for you. In the Cayman Islands cabinet right now, you have the Honorable Tara Rivers, Minister of a bunch of things, Home Affairs, Financial Services, so on and so forth. A key cog propping up this government is the Honorable Speaker McKeeva Bush, who has significant sway over the government, over the Premier, because without him they would not be able to form a government. Let nobody fool you, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, the reason why I point out those two individuals is because I'm in the District of West Bay, and this is where the people of West Bay are being sold short. When you have Royal Caribbean and Carnival Cruise Lines at the negotiating table, and the elected government of the Cayman Islands refuse to or are unwilling to, at point number one, say to the representatives of Royal Caribbean and Carnival Cruise Lines, let's start our negotiation like this. The Caymanian tour bus operators, water sports operators, and taxi operators must make more money than what they're making now. I'm not asking for the impossible. I don't think it's unreasonable. I think it's what they get paid to do to represent the Caymanian interests. The fact that none of them are prepared to do so, my, I guess, disappointment, and the only thing that I can say is West Bay deserves better. On that note, the country deserves better. Here's why. You can come on a road show, and I'm talking about the Premier, the Minister of Tourism, I'm talking about Minister Rivers, I'm talking about Minister Hugh, I'm talking about all of them because they're collectively responsible. They can go into LA, they can take to a road show, and they can lobby and cajole and fight and advocate for the cruise lines. But the people that put them in a position, they don't say quaha about. You are not even in their thoughts. They don't speak about you. They don't even try to negotiate on your behalf. But here's the kicker. And I read this in the paper, so I know it's real, right? Haha. Minister Rivers is prepared to go to Hollywood to try and advocate to the studios and the writers in Hollywood to tell them that the Cayman Islands isn't full of money launderers and tax evaders. And she's prepared to travel all that way to fight and lobby for Cayman, which is admirable, and I respect it. I don't think it's going to be successful, but she can go that far, but she can't lobby, fight, and negotiate on behalf of those people here in the Cayman Islands now. And here's the funny part. Everybody that's elected likes to travel because it's first-class travel. You get to take your entourage. You get to spend good money. Carnival Cruise Lines and Royal Caribbean actually come to us, so we don't even have to go that far. If they were really interested in representing you and negotiating better terms, better percentages for the Caymanian-owned businesses, they would be doing that right now. Okay? Right now, instead of Well, we'll get to that once we sign the contract. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what's really disturbing? On the radio on Friday, you had representatives of the Orion Development Group. They could tell the country that they have a 25-year contract and that they're going to be in the country for 25 years. Ladies and gentlemen, none of my elected government have told me that they signed a contract. So what in the name of the Lord is Orion talking about when they can definitively tell you, well, we have a 25-year contract and we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to... Somebody is lying, and I don't think it's Orion Development, okay? Wake up, Caymanians, wake up. There's something going on, okay? We've reached a stage now where, and I'm going to show some empathy here. I read somewhere also that the Premier is having a hard time and he feels a bit discombobulated, and, you know, we're picking on him. Mr. Premier, we don't want you to fail, because if you fail, the country fails, okay? I do not want you to fail, because then my country fails. What I want you to do, Mr. Premier, is to stop being an arrogant narcissist, and I want you to listen to the people, and I want you to understand that you represent all of us. You don't represent some of us. When you're elected, you represent all of us. Multi-generational Caymanians, first-generational Caymanians, brand-new Caymanians, white ones, black ones, green ones, fat ones. That is the job that you have signed up to. That is the oath that you took when you came into office. The fact that they are now comfortable in saying, we are trying to destabilize the country. Ladies and gentlemen, I love my country. Cayman is the best place in the world. I don't know anybody that wants to see it fail. I don't associate myself with anybody that wants to see it become a third world banana republic. I would never, ever, on the life of my children, participate in any sort of ignorant, sort of malicious civil unrest where we are advocating marches and taking to the streets. We are better than that. All of us. I know I'm better than that, and I know everyone in this room is better than that. So for the government to peddle this story that we are solely driven by the politics to destabilize them and to bring the country down, ladies and gentlemen, that is a lie. It is an untruth. It is a misrepresentation for them to gain some sort of sympathy along the way. But I'll say this, it's not the first lie that they've told along the campaign trail, because apparently I bid on a port that I didn't know about, and the Premier used parliamentary privilege to make that point, because he knew if he expressed that view outside of the LA, there would be a letter from my attorney at least, and I would seek the requisite damages, because that was solely intended to misrepresent the facts and to cause damage to me and my character. I'm the type of person that if I did it, I own it. Nobody hacked my account, okay? If you see something go up, I actually wrote that, okay? Make no doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna wrap up now, but I think you need to understand, as much as we can talk about all the wonderful things that CPR is doing, what you are doing, what the volunteers are doing, and again, it's the best part of this entire journey, being associated with some really first-class people who are super bright, who are patriotic, who love Cayman as much as me, and if not more, and who are prepared to ask questions, because that's all we're doing. We're asking questions, and the government never thought that they would have to contend with a tidal wave of Caymanians and people of different shapes, colors, and sizes, and the diversity of our group is what confounds them, because for years, this is what the political machinery has done. The reasons why Caymanians aren't getting ahead is because of the foreign white expat. They have said it in every corner, every sort of private discussion that they can have. The reasons why Caymanians aren't getting ahead, ladies and gentlemen, is because of the poor leadership provided by Caymanians. It doesn't matter if you're Caymanian for 5 minutes or 5 generations or 50. We are now faced with an opportunity where we get to at least take back some control and demonstrate that we are awake, we understand the issues. And ladies and gentlemen, I cannot stress enough, it is imperative that every able-bodied Caymanian that can, please, 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 vote on December the 19th, vote your conscience, take a friend, take a family member. This thing will not happen unless we get numbers at the poll. And despite all of the cries or sort of antics of, you know, when the Premier says, had I known it cost $9 million, we probably wouldn't have done that. Mr. Premier, I'm embarrassed for you that you could tell the country you don't know how much money, how much of our money is being spent on a project that you have championed from day one. Have you not learned any lessons from the $110 million Clifton Hunter High School that you are responsible for? That is his legacy. Financial mismanagement. There is nobody in the government that has a track record of delivering anything on time, on budget, that makes any sense. We cannot take a chance with this because, more importantly, we don't have the information. How do you make a decision of this magnitude blindfolded when the government have not given you an updated EIA? And if you listen to them, well, they don't think it's necessary. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot have a new design in deeper waters somewhere else and then have the elected government say, well, we already have an EIA, so we'll just build on that. No, ladies and gentlemen, there's a reason why they have excluded the Department of Environment. There's a reason why they've sidelined Mrs. Gina Ebanks-Petrie and all of the good folks at the Department of Environment, because the one consistent theme of everybody in this government, if you don't agree with them, you're a troublemaker, you're a problem, you need to go, you're looking to be a political wannabe, you're looking to run. How about we just let Ms. Gina and DOE do their jobs? If we can take Dr. Vaughn and the Polaris folks and we can bring them in to tell us how magical this thing is, why can't we have the local experts, the people that live and breathe the marine environment of the Cayman Islands? Why is our government afraid to allow them to speak to us? That's what they're paid to do, unless, of course, they might be saying something the government doesn't want you to hear. My final point would be this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not anti-development, I'm not anti-growth, I'm not, look at me, I eat a lot, I'm not anti-anything, okay? My concern is this: if the government are desperate enough to grow the population, to grow the tourism sort of industry and the sort of numbers that we have, I would have thought that they would care enough about where the Caymanian people fit into that entire equation. Because right now, there is no training and development for Caymanians. There is no sustainable, there's no plan. Let's start with that. There's no plan and there's no sustainable plan that will help you or your children understand where they fit into this model. They're just basically trying to do this. We need 250, we need 2.5 million cruise passengers per year. That'll pay for the project. But truth be told, we're going to grow the project to probably 3.5 million by 2025. I've seen those numbers. I know what I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, if they have such lofty ambitions and plans, don't you think there should be something definitive that says, and this is how Caymanians participate, instead of a charade of a work shop at the Margaritaville? It was a jobs fair, they called it. How many Caymanians you know were going to benefit from that jobs fair? They can't tell you what the jobs are. They can't tell you what you're going to get paid. They can't tell you what the qualifications are. We have Miss Tiffany Bear in the back. A year ago, she asked a question of the Minister of Tourism. Minister, can you please tell us what these jobs are so that I can prepare my children, we can prepare our children? The Minister of Tourism, in his infinite wisdom, this was his response: that's not my ministry. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how they all think. It's not their ministry, it's not their problem, but they're looking out for those that they want to look out for. What about the rest of us? What about the next generation of Caymanians? What about those people that need to have something to hold on to and something to aspire to? When they tell you we're going to do this and we're going to do that and it's about prosperity and growth, ladies and gentlemen, if they're not prepared to fight and negotiate for you now, how in the name of Jesus are they going to now find a place for you in the new, improved, evolved Cayman with more jobs and more people? This thing is basic stuff. You start with the foundation, you put up the walls, you got some plumbing, you got the truss, you got a roof. The government are selling you a house. You don't know what's inside of it. You don't know how much it costs. You don't know anything about what the fixtures and fittings are like. They are scant on the details, and that is deliberate. But they will promise you all of the fluffy, pretty talking without giving you what you need, which are the facts. Our government is prepared to spend your money, my money, the taxpayer money, on a brochure called Get the Facts that only gives 50% of the story. That is how demented this situation is. And we have an opportunity on December the 19th to fix that. Encourage all your friends, all your family, everyone in your neighborhood, even if they vote yes. I can live with that. That's their democratic right. And that's what CPR has always been about. It's about giving people the opportunity to have their say and express themselves. Would I love everybody to vote no? 100%. Okay? But it is about the engagement and it is about the exercise where finally Caymanians are showing up. They're getting up off the couch, and instead of saying, well, it's a done deal and it's already, I can't really fix this. Yes, you can. Every single voter has an opportunity to make a difference on the direction of this project. Every single voter has an opportunity to make a direction on the impact the direction of this country, because we all know this is not the right thing for us, and we know it's not the right thing for us because we don't have all the facts. And we don't have all the facts because they can't give you the facts, because then they'd have no window in which to sell you or to operate in. Ladies and gentlemen, there are civil servants that are petrified. I got a message from 10 of them tonight. Would love to come to the meeting, can't take the chance. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the type of country we're living in. But here's the good part of that story. Those 10 people did say they're going to vote no. So what we need to do is encourage. We need to encourage every Caymanian, new Caymanian, old Caymanian, young Caymanian. You have a responsibility. You have a right. People fought for that right. People like Miss Georgette and countless others, Miss Sybil McLaughlin, for the women in particular, they did what they needed to do, and they were the CPRs before we were even a twinkle in our father's or mother's eyes. We owe it to the next generation to make sure that we make decisions that are best for them. You are not voting for a politician, you are voting for Cayman. So on December 19th, we beg you, please, 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 show up, bring a friend, bring your family. Let's make it really clear to the government how we feel about this project, and don't forget, vote no. Sorry, the fun part of the show starts now with question and answers. We're going to make Darren go first because he could be here all night. But we'd ask you to, are you going to walk there? You going to, Michelle, go there? No, leave it there. Darren, we're going to ask you to stand up there so we can catch you on TV. And we get questions, please, questions, and then we'll try to figure out how to best answer. John?
Hi, good evening. Johan said a lot of important facts, just like Mr. Kim and everyone else did. And I just want to put it in perspective, something that Johan said, and I want to bring it into the rest of the comments. We have to fight for what is ours. We have our own experts. Mr. Kim is right here with us. Mr. Bob Soto, his passed, but his words are still lingering in some of our ears. When we realized a few years ago that we had a problem with the green iguanas, Ms. Gina from the DOE didn't consult the world's best computer technician. She went to experts in that field and then hired the locals the experts to get rid of the issue. And you have to look for days now sometimes to see a green iguana. The locals did that based on local experts and what we did. Why are we taking the advice when it comes to regrowing and repositioning coral? We have CCMI here, we have marine biologists like Mr. Guy Harvey that given us his expert opinion. Why are we taking the advice and the words of someone who isn't even a coral expert? This Dr. Sohn, whatever his name is, he's a botanist, I made to understand from Googling. Why are we taking everything he's saying and paying him $10 million for it, and he's not a true expert in the field? None of his work can be justified. I don't see how you can reposition coral in a place and compare it in natural environment and compare it to something that's grown in an aquarium or in a test tank with perfect pH, perfect salinity levels, and all the nutrients that coral need to grow. You cannot compare that to repositioning coral in a natural environment. Mr. Kem told us about the sand movement and how when they first built the pier, an area was left to leave for the coral, for the sand to move back and forth. That has since been filled in. We see now what has happened on West Bay Road. We are being told that that is not going to happen because the piers will be built using pilings. The Oasis class ship is almost 1,200 feet long, 1,183 or 1,187 feet long, with a draft of almost 35 feet. So that is the equivalent of opening your window at night with a screen in it to enjoy the good little Christmas breeze, but closing the window and expecting to still feel the breeze. If you have a 35-foot wall against a pier, 35 feet against a wall, creates a wall against those pilings, there is no flow. There is flow, but it's not in the top 35 feet. If it's 60 feet, then effectively that's 50% of the flow that's restricted. 50% restricted flow for at least 10 hours a day equates to over half of the required movement. It is going to restrict the movement of sand. It is going to make a big difference. That hasn't even been considered. But our local experts are being pushed aside. Ms. Gina, CCMI, everyone else are being pushed aside. One thing that I have not heard government address, or no one has spoken and said anything about the condo owners on 7 Mile Beach that have paid upwards of $15, $20 million for a beautiful condo on 7 Mile Beach. When they get it wrong, if these piers are built, if we don't see the future and these piers are built and that sand is gone, there's no more 7 Mile Beach, who will be in those condos? What will they be? No one is come to buy, no one will come to stay because there is no beach. That is the future we have to be standing and protecting and standing for. Because it is something that we have no control over nature. We must let nature take its course. And anytime we alter nature, then problems start. Those ships that are going to be tied alongside those piers have, I think it's 7 main engines that are used to generate the electrical power for the pods for power, and then 6 generators, huge engines for AC, electrical lighting and everything. All of those systems are cooled via raw salt water. So the salt water is intake into the ship, goes through those systems and expelled. And when it's expelled at a lot higher temperature because it's hot. That's how it creates the cooling effect. So effectively you have tens of thousands of gallons of hot water being expelled into Georgetown Harbor, going right down across where those corals will be supposedly regrowing. That is going to have an effect. That will cause those new coral to die, and the ones that have been established there can't take that sort of temperature change. But when it starts to happen, we'll hear, oh, that's coral bleaching, that's a natural occurrence. But that's not the case. That is something that has to be considered, and it hasn't been considered at all. I have not heard anyone say anything about that yet. Johan said that he received calls from civil servants saying that they're scared. I just want to say that Section 11 of the Bill of Rights says that we are guaranteed our freedom of expression. I'm not anti-government. I'm pro-Cayman. I'm pro the future. I'm pro our environment. And this is not the words of the government. This is my personal belief. This is what I believe. I think we all need to not be fearful, stand up and be counted, because it is our only hope. We can't take a chance and get it wrong. If we get it wrong, there is no second tries. Not with this. This is too big of a project. The results could be catastrophes for us and the island in general. Our tourism factor, every single boat operator here who operates in the North Sound and Stingray City that benefits from cruise tourism need to evaluate their business and their product, because it is worth more than $15 a person. You cannot go to the cinema for less than what you pay to go Stingray, or for, anyway, it's costs more to go to the cinema than you can go to Stingray City for. Stingray City is a world-known attraction, one of a kind in this entire world, and we are giving it away. It should be at a premium cost. Every single boat operator should be getting $100 a person in their pockets, because we spend twice that to go to an amusement park anywhere in the United States. It costs that to come down River Falls in Jamaica. And we have it here. It's one of a kind. So every single operator needs to assess their business and realize that they're worth it. Their business is worth it because the product is there and people will pay to go see it. We don't have to bend over backwards and give our country away, give our business away, just because we can move 200,000 people off a ship in 2 or 3 months. It doesn't work that way. We need value for our product and for our money.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Darren.
Yeah, I almost finished on one more thing.
You got more?
I just want to invite beg everyone to come out. If you are against it, if you are against this sport, come out and vote no. If you are unsure of what to do, if you're a little on the fence, you don't know, come out, still vote no. And if you are for the port, come out and vote no, because you're misinformed and you're wrong.
The next brave soul, please. Anybody? You can't do this at government meetings, so take advantage of it, okay?
Okay, first of all, I'd really like to express a lot of gratitude to CPR, doing a great job, everything we've done. I have a suggestion. I did volunteer to be a volunteer driver on referendum day. I really see that there could be a problem with a lot of people not having transportation to get to the polls. And I think it would be really good to have a lot of volunteers and have something set up. So maybe the person that drives somebody to the poll is not the person that drives them back, but have something efficient set up. So maybe I drive 5 people to the poll, and then I'm ready to drive somebody back who's already voted, and have a big volunteer group like that. So, yeah, exactly, a shuttle system. So, love to see that happen and see all you guys out there volunteering.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It is something that we're considering, but I didn't think about it how you said it, the shuttle system. Also, on that same point, if you need a ride, let us know. We want everyone to be able to come out and vote, because remember, if you don't come out, it counts as a yes vote. So you need to make sure that everybody is coming out and voting no. Is there any other questions? Comments? Anything?
You don't have to write anything down. You don't have to write anything down. Enjoy it. This is called freedom and democracy.
Good evening, everyone. This is more of like a statement and sort of a question as well. And it is, how can we trust the government? I mean, they say, oh, it's going to provide more jobs for Caymanians. I mean, how can we trust this when we've got 1,300 unemployed, 30,000 work permits? If they can't get our Caymanians employed now, how can we trust them to do that once this port is built? I don't understand that.
Listen, they are perfect questions. Michael, the one thing I would say to you, I'm glad that we can have a platform like this to give people the opportunity to speak. I wish our government was receptive to answering that sort of question, which is really direct and really straightforward, but they would rather deflect and call you a political wannabe than get to the meat of it. The point that you make is really valid. You have 30,000 work permits in the Cayman Islands. They're saying, as one of the justifications for the project is, we need this project for jobs. Ladies and gentlemen, the 30,000 work permits, Caymanians can get some of those jobs that exist right now if the country and the government had policies and were truly interested in the training, developing, and upskilling of our people and not paying them a measly $6 an hour. That's the God's honest truth. Next question. Yes, sir.
I don't have a dog in this fight. So I'm just going to ask this question from an outsider's point of view. I came here to the meeting last Monday. Let me just say that I really appreciate this forum because I thought that they write the question on the bit of paper. Anyhow, that's another story for another time. Let us assume that CPR wins the referendum vote. The votes count. No is the final vote. The problem that we all know about with the port still remains. Has anyone, because I've been trying my best to get information from both sides, hear both viewpoints. But if everyone votes no, the issue with crowding at the port still remains. Shuttling containers backward and forward at night, that issue still remains. I heard the Premier say, if this does not go through as it is presently structured, there is no more plan to improve the port facility. Does anyone know of a plan to deal with that issue? Because that will still be an issue.
No, fair question, and I think I'll take the first stab at it. I think what you're focused in on is there a plan, or what would we like to see should the no votes carry? Well, let me just start off by giving you some context. The country should never have been put in a position where we needed to have a referendum if a few things happened. The government failed to acknowledge how serious this issue is for the people. CPR wrote to the Premier and Cabinet 7 letters. 7. None have been acknowledged, none have been responded to, and I have it on good authority. There is no meeting that would be held with CPR or with the likes of me or some other of the members, because that is the mood of the Premier in particular. That disappoints me because I didn't realize that he was the Premier to just represent and speak to a few people. I thought, as a citizen of this country, if I write to you respectfully, or if I make representations to you in a calm, rational, respectful manner, that would be reciprocated. But apparently, we live in a third world banana republic whereby the leadership can say, well, I'll speak to Dwayne, but I won't speak to Levon, and I won't speak to Troy because he's wearing a blue shirt and blue offends me, but I won't speak to Siobhan because she's just a rascal. And that is the sort of mindset and management that we have. We should never have gotten to this point. And for the record, CPR are more than happy to have a meeting with the Premier and with the Cabinet tomorrow morning, should they open themselves up to that opportunity, because we are not obstructionists. We want to understand what they would like to do should the no votes carry and their position fail, and we would like to be able, just like how we're doing now, how can we help get a solution that is best for Cayman? The reason why the no vote and the momentum is so strong is they have lied, they have misrepresented the facts, and they are withholding information. The government, our Premier, can say, there are no more facts to give you. You'll only get the facts after the contract is signed, which is after the referendum. Your question is valid, but we got to get to the root issue of how does somebody logically, as a leader of a country, tell you that you will get the facts after the contract is signed. And if you listen to Orion Development, they're pretty confident that something was signed because a guy said on the radio he plans on being here for 25 years. So there's a lot more questions that come out of that. But to your point, I know for a fact that proposals have been submitted to the government, and the government are reviewing proposals about cargo. All right? That's a fact. There is the possibility and the potential for cargo to be relocated to the outer districts along the sort of Scott's Quarry area once you develop the east-west arterial. But the fact that the government are not prepared to share something that is well known by a handful of people or by enough people should cause you concern, because we aren't trying to stop progress. We just know that the plan before us now is a bad idea because of all the promises that they've made. You're bringing in coral specialists, and I'm not a scientist by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm going to roll with Captain Kem. I'm going to roll with CCMI. I'm going to roll with the representations of Dr. Dunning from our meeting last week, Wednesday. These are people that live and breathe Cayman, all right? Anybody that's prepared to use us as a guinea pig and a science project, I think we should all be leery of. But would we support other proposals for cargo and to enhance that? Because we accept that cargo is the lifeblood for the country. But here's the catch. The government will tell you, well, if we expand the cargo, we can bring in bigger ships. For the record, members of CPR have reached out to every single shipping company in the Cayman Islands, and none of them can confirm that they're bringing in bigger ships. So I'd like to understand, where's the government getting this assurance from when the shipping companies have yet to confirm that one, bigger ships exist for them to come into the jurisdiction? All right? So hopefully that kind of addresses your point. We don't have anything to hide. It's just that if I sit up here and I go, well, they should do X and they should do Y, well, you want to be the leader of the country. No, I want the leaders of the country to tell us what the plan is, because that's their job, not mine.
Johan,
Yo.
could I please help the gentleman on one issue? On the issue of the port, they could unload 2 boats, start as the boats come in, and by 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, taking all the containers to the port area and have the empties back on the ship. They have some geniuses there now that we were discussing the other night in Parliament. They brought in 2 new cranes that are not ready to fit. Now it takes them 3 days to do what they used to do in one night. So you wonder if all of this was for a reason. The port was no problem. There was plenty of space. Everything was going back and forth good. And all of a sudden, it's gotten bad. It's gotten bad because of poor planning. It has nothing to do with the boats. In fact, if they bring bigger boats, the experts are saying it could cost us more, because that means the boat has to go back more empty. And you have to pay for both ways. So the port and all those things is just a byproduct to try to scare people in that we need this thing. Thank you.
Isn't there a rule that Bajans not allowed to ask questions in West Bay or something like that?
I live down the road.
You must be a police officer.
Back home in Barbados, we have a saying: persons who accept every single thing that comes out of the mouth of a politician, we call them political yard fowls. What is a yard fowl?
Brethren, we have plenty of yard fowls in Cayman.
You understand what I'm saying?
I hear you.
You throw anything out, they will take anything at all. Ruthana was nice enough to invite me on her show, and I said this on Thursday. I'll close by saying this. When you have a politician in your district whose actions benefit you, you will vote for him, and you'll go after whatever he says if it continues to benefit you. However, if the street next to you in the same district, in the same constituency, if those actions don't benefit him, what good is that politician's work? This is a macro policy. What I've heard from many persons, left and right, of this issue, and please understand, I don't have a dog in this fight. I haven't lived here long enough. I don't even have a job. I love the place. I love the place. And my wife tell me, anyhow, another story.
Sorry.
This is a macro policy. Whatever is done will affect the entire country. It may not directly benefit you, but your vote must take into account what is going to benefit the country long term. Mr. Speaker, I'm obliged to you.
What he failed to say was vote no at the end of his entire thing there. That's the only thing missing from that. Thank you very much, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I have a question. I'm not sure if Mr. Moxmore or Mr. Bush can answer, but the representative from CCMI brought up the incident where Carnival Cruise destroyed our coral back in 2015, I believe she said. Were they fined for damaging the coral?
I'll try to answer that as best I can. Actually, while I was a bit rude and I went on my phone because somebody had an answer for who actually did restore that site while one of the other speakers was talking, and it turns out they were not fined for that incident because it was an anchor drop, not a ship hit to the reef directly, and it was in an area that have always preferred permanent moorings, but it is not illegal to not have those, to drop that anchor in that area without using one of the moorings. So it was replenished and it was consulted with the DOE, but it was not determined to be an illegal or finable offense. And it was restored by a group that no longer exists called Cayman's Magic Reef, which dissolved in 2016. So they apparently went in there and restored it as a group of volunteer Caymanians, but I can't find any work online. It was dive industry related. It was with the DOE, yes, correct. So they were not fined, and there were several other incidents in the area as well that were also not fined. So good question.
Another question. Did our government not pay international experts, environmentalists, marine biologists, for their opinion on us going forth with this port?
Your question is, did our government pay international experts to come in and do this?
For their opinion.
Oh, for their opinion. To be honest with you, I don't know. I know that international experts were brought on the panel of the Virgin Isle Port Partners. They are not local experts. They do not have Caymanian papers. They do not have Caymanian work permits. They do not have any Caymanians working for them yet. I don't know if that's in their plan. However, I do know that none of us were consulted about our professional opinions. So all of the numbers that I shared with you folks this evening, it's not an opinion. We just went out and did reef surveys on the same sites that were previously told to people were dead coral sites. And in fact, we found up to 58% stony coral cover on those sites. So we weren't asked an opinion. We just went ahead and did it.
I remember reading, in the paper that the government did seek the opinion of international experts. Not sure if they paid for that opinion or not, but they did seek it, and they were advised on more than one occasion no, do not go forth with this. And here we are, no, let me correct that. Here our government is willing to pay $450 million for a $200 million port to destroy coral that protects our island from natural disasters such as hurricanes. And they say that as an ant, a single ant can't do much damage, but a whole colony can bring the ship down. That's what we need to do. We need to bring this ugly monster down and go and vote no. And one last question. I only saw Mr. Bush as an elective or MLA representative of West Bay. Where are the other three tonight?
Johan, I just wanted to elaborate on what the gentleman from Barbados actually said, because if I got what you're saying correctly, is what takes place afterwards, in a nutshell. Well, I mean, if you, assuming that you believe, I assume that you believe the government's position in that the port is overcrowded, I'm talking about the container part of it, and that that's all falling apart and that we need everything that's used. I'm assuming that one would have to believe that in order to come to a decision that it is, you know, a yes vote for them just for that mere fact. There are many of us, and I think Johan tried to allude to a little bit about it in terms of finding out information about from the shippers, that they themselves are not planning anything that is huge. But there is a huge point to make in regards to the port just from a layman's perspective and just looking at it. I mean, for me, the way that I looked at it was, and I don't have a percentage, a factual percentage, but just looking at it as day being 50% use, night being 50% use, we have made a conscious decision as a country, our leaders, to utilize our port only at night. And we didn't just do that just for the visitors. We did that because we didn't want people to be driving trucks in a day. So that's self-imposed. And if we look at that as a 50%, 50%, we're currently using the port 50% of the time in any 24-hour period. And not every night of the week either. That's only, what, 2 nights a week, 3 nights a week at the very most? In most businesses, you couldn't justify any sort of cost with, if you imagine going to your boss and say, well, I want to build a new port or expand the port, and he says, well, how much are you using it now? And it's used only 50% of the time, just as a mere figure. So whether we move it or whether that's because of the cruise ship, and mind you, I've also looked at the design, and from what I've seen, the port expansion isn't anything very huge. If it's the port you're talking about, and for those people who are thinking about the port, just looking at their bare design, most of the expansion on their design actually goes to the cruise ship terminal design. From what I can recall from my recollection of it, it's adding an additional pier that allows for them to have another container ship going. So to address that, if I got your question, is those things can be done in isolation of digging up and destroying our entire environment. So the question is adding an additional pier, maybe some additional feet onto the dock, warrants us destroying the whole entire ecological system in downtown Georgetown. And those things can be done post this. I think the Premier, in my view, and certainly my deducement of it in many instances, because this is how he's operated in the past, certainly in regards to things that I have gone up against the government on, he'll say things like that to scare people. So when he talks about things like, well, it'll take another government that will be looking at a project, well, maybe there will be. 2020 ain't that far away. So it's not as if this country cannot move forward because we're going to fall apart because we make as a decision to put this project on hold. There is an additional point to be made as well.
I just think you should apply for the director of the port job that I saw advertised, because that made a whole lot of sense to me.
It's all right, man. I think hand in nail, though, with that particular point, I think is worth, and I wasn't planning on speaking, by the way, but it happens.
But you got a mic now, so go on.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few points that I really wanted to drive home, and one of them was that Cayman Inc., and that's what I call it, Cayman Inc. needs those 5 locations. I think we need to drive that home because I stood up there, or I sat there and I listened to Troy. I have a story too. You know, when I was 7 and 8, 9 years old, my mother, I grew up in a very small house on Northwest Point facing the sea. All of the major West Coast dives were right off of our house. In fact, the 3 major West Coast dives that all of the dive boats go to is literally a few hundred yards off the yard that I grew up in. My mother, the room that I actually grew up in, she used to have a back door, and when she opened that back door, I could actually look out, lay on her bed, on the foot of the bed, and look straight out that back door, straight out to those boats. And I remember as a little boy always seeing these dive boats out there, wondering, what are these people doing out there with these tanks? What are they doing? Why do they want to go under the water and look at it? I had no appreciation for what we had in Cayman. Little did I know that my life was going to take me via a path that I became certified diver. And I shared this publicly on the radio when I called him one day. But I say all that to say this. My first dive, like Troy, was actually at Eden Rock. I developed a passion, and that was working under the auspices of Miss Angela Martin, the first director of Caymanian Director of Tourism that you heard speak the other night. Thank God for her. She approved for, I think it was 7 or 8 of us, including Miss Nicola Conley, who's also at the Aviation Authority. I became a certified diver. I got to appreciate why millions of our tourists come here every year to appreciate the Cayman Islands on the water world. I developed a real passion for our sea life, our marine life. And so when I think about the sports, and not just dive, that was just the diving part of it, but there was a snorkeling part of it. I also worked as a young man on the beach, and I actually worked with a water sports operator where I actually got to snorkel most of those snorkel sites in downtown Georgetown. And I also got to dive that site, by the way, off of Northwest Point where I grew up. So that was really great. I actually got to see why those people went down there and dove all those life. I didn't finish that thought. But the point is that when I worked in the Department of Tourism for 5 years, one of the major things that we promoted was obviously our marine world, the snorkel operators that operate in Cayman. Well, if any of you know your country, there are not many shore dives from shore dive or snorkel sites that visitors can actually enter from the iron shore, actually enter from the beach and go in and actually enjoy the reef system. Can they do it along 7 Mile Beach? Yeah, but it's all sand. There's a few sites here and there. So when your government tells you about, and this is the half-truth that I keep dealing with, when they talk about, well, there's 200 other dive sites. Yeah, they didn't tell you they missed the part. You need to get on a boat and go 30 minutes or 40 minutes to go and dive. And these are dive sites. These are not snorkel sites. Yeah, can you see them? Well, can you see a reef from 80 feet down there? Yeah, but you don't get to really enjoy it. How many of our visitors who came on a cruise ship, for example, decided to come back to the Cayman Islands because they snorkeled at the Balboa? I actually wanted to ask those gentlemen the other night, but they had the paper thing, so it didn't allow me to do it, and it frustrated me to death. So I didn't bother to ask. I actually wanted to ask them if they got off and went and snorkeled there. I really did want to ask them if they got off and snorkeled at Eden Rock and Devil's Grotto or the Balboa. Because there's just no way that they could actually run those cruise lines and actually make a conscious decision to decide to come here and destroy it. And so for me, it's a no vote on all levels because it makes no, as the good late Mr. Bob Soda said, no dollars and cents. And he didn't mean S-E-N-T-S, he meant S-E-N-S-E. No dollars and cents. Thank you very much.
Seems like a good place to wrap up. Want to thank everyone. Sorry, is there any more questions? I shouldn't be so rude. Any more questions? Two more questions. All right.
I did want to just add, although there's not much left here now, but I wanted to just mention that they said that there's no way we're going to trigger this referendum, right? 5,200 signatures? No way, they can't get that, right? But now we do have to recognize that this bar to actually win this referendum is very high. It's 50% of the registered voters, not 50% of the people who vote, plus 1. You can be that plus 1. every vote counts. If you're sitting on the fence, vote no. Vote no because you don't know enough to realize how bad this thing is. But we all do know, the people who have been following this thing. If you haven't been following enough, you simply don't know enough. But, I mean, really, if you haven't been following enough, you probably don't know enough. But we've got to get out and vote. If you know somebody who is sitting on the fence, make sure they come to the next rally. We've got great information coming out. Hear this stuff and find out what's wrong with this, because government has promised us they will not mention one word about what's wrong with this plan. Not one word. Alden stood up on the floor of the LA and said so, right to our face. And he said, we got a beautiful brochure coming out. You got to see it. But it won't say anything negative. You got to go listen to CPR because they're the only ones who are going to tell you the truth. So I just want to point out, it's 50% plus one. You can be that one. Thank you.
Johan, if I may, I just want to make a comment on the question that was raised about can we believe the promises with the jobs. A couple of weeks ago, the labor statistics were released. I think for the first 10 months of this year, it was a 10-month period. Now, 3,000 work permits were created, and if I'm reading this and understanding, it was 3,000 additional work permits, so there was job growth. We all know that we have a booming economy right now, construction. So we had 3,000 additional work permits. Now, in that same period, the unemployment numbers amongst Caymanians were reduced by 100 people. So we created 3,100 jobs in our economy in the last 10 months, and 100 of those jobs were taken by Caymanians. Now, these are Caymanians who are registered as unemployed. Currently, with the 100 reduction that we've had, we currently have 1,038 registered unemployed Caymanians. So if we use the same ratios as we build out these peers, in order to employ 1,038 Caymanians, we're going to need to create 30,000 jobs, okay? So the 700, 900, 200 jobs that are going to be created, if we use the same ratio, you're going to have 5 more Caymanians unemployed. If you are an unemployed Caymanian and you are voting yes because you think these births are going to give you a job, you are sorely mistaken. I suggest you go out there, and when you vote no, you write next to that no, I am not an idiot. All right? So it is simple as that. We need to not create more jobs for Caymanians. We need to make our Caymanians ready for the jobs that are already here. Thank you.
Yeah, Johan, I got a couple of questions for you. I got to talk like a West player tonight. Listen, now. Well, I want to ask a really serious question. I've been pondering, I've been thinking. My commentary on this whole thing is a little bit more radical rascal than you guys, but I'm a pretty decent speaker, and I would love to speak upon this, but I just don't know. What do you think, or why do you think these men, and perhaps a couple of women, are doing what they're doing? To me, in my thought process, this is genocide. This is apartheid. This is you killing me. I mean, I can tell you a story about my life and the position this type of government has put me in personally. And I've suffered severely, but I still fight every day. Help me to understand why my third cousin Alden, my third cousin Mac, my second cousin Bernie, he's on our team, good for you, Bernie. Why would these people that have my same genetics want to kill me or destroy me, systemically or otherwise? I want to know, why would they do it? And it cannot be a one-off answer, oh, for money. Okay. I still need to know why.
Well, that's a Debbie Downer type question, to be honest with you. Levon, great question. I would say this, I don't want to even try to answer that because I don't understand how they think. Their version of representation runs counter to what I think representation looks like. The fact that they're not prepared to meet with the people, answer questions and letters from the people, and to be dismissive of the people explains perhaps, you know, some of the things that you've gone through, but I just think that they don't value persons that don't sign up to their agenda, but I think that's as far as I will go and say that they owe the country answers to those types of questions, and I don't think like them, so I can't really answer that. With that said, everyone, thank you very much. We'll see you on Wednesday night in Red Bay. Thank you so much for coming out. Good night. Oh, don't forget to vote no.